Good evening. It is officially 6:05 on June 11th, 2026. I'm going to commence this regular board meeting. I am Trustee Kelly McCoshie, serving as board president. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to have Namarta Graywall impromptu lead us. Thank you. Okay, good evening. We're going to, seems to be an echo. Sorry. Okay, I think we got that fixed. We're going to do a roll call introduction, so we'll start with Namarta Graywall. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself, please, and we'll go around the dais.
Thank you. Good evening, Namarta Graywall, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Good evening, Ahmed Shkoslami, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Good evening, Ed Dialazzo, Deputy Superintendent, Educational Services.
Good evening, Charlie Jones, Trustee for Area 4.
Good evening, Lori Walker, serving as Vice President this year.
Okay, good evening, Trustee Kelly McCoshie, serving as Board President this year. Also would like to recognize that Trustee Carrion and Trustee Brown are out of town, and so they're absent. But we do have quorum today. And I'll pass it off to Dr. Geisels.
Welcome and thank you for coming, everyone out there live and online. So, Maurice Geisels, Superintendent.
And Lenita Villasenor, Executive Assistant to Dr. Geisels on the board.
Okay, next we're going to do some report outs in closed session. We do not have any open session actions on closed session items, which is item D. We do have a few report outs for closed session actions. So first off, we do have a stipulated expulsion. We have, hold on one second. Item 2A1A on closed session, item 2A1A, the board voted 3-0 with 2 absent, with the motion made by Trustee Jones and seconded by Trustee Walker to approve the readmission from expulsion for internal case number 2025-2026.01, the first one for this year. Then we also have under personnel, we do have a recommendation for hire. It was approved unanimously for those present. In closed session, the board voted 3-0 with 2 absent. The motion made by Walker, seconded by Jones, for the appointment of Linda Boveda for Vice Principal of Fairlands and Vintage Hills. Do we have this person in the audience? Come on up to the podium and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am deeply humbled and incredibly grateful to accept the role of Vice Principal here in Pleasanton Unified School District. Stepping into this position is a responsibility that I do not take lightly, and I am fully committed to serving this wonderful community with dedication and care. I want to extend my sincere gratitude to our board member and superintendent's cabinet for placing your trust in me. Your leadership and vision set the standard for our district, and I'm honored to continue to support that mission. I have called Leidixon, I'm going to cry, the Leidixon community home for over 25 years. Yes, and under the leadership of Jake Berg and Liz Lyons and many mentors, I have developed into a leader that I hope mirrors those that have inspired me. And my wonderful family at Leidixon, some of them are here today. They will always be a part of my heart, and I will always keep in touch with them. I don't know who's going to prank Laura Burton now, because we do pranks, little ducks and smiley faces. And Erin, you up for it? All right, cool. So I'll pass that baton to you. To our exceptional families, staff, and leaders and teachers at Fairlands and Vintage Hills, I look forward to listening, being curious, learning, and partnering alongside each of you to ensure that each student feels supported and valued and included. Thank you for this opportunity to serve.
Congratulations again. Okay, moving along, we have the agenda and the board Q&A. So the next item is standard procedure, but am looking for an approval of the agenda. And this is the time if there's any modifications or as is.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and we will do a roll call vote.
Aye.
And aye. 3 for yay and 2 absent. Motion passes. The next we have is the board Q&A and meeting follow-up. This is a standard item on the agenda as well. It is available, and this is an opportunity for trustees to ask questions to staff in regards to any item on the agenda, as well as any follow-up items, and that is available to the public online. And then next we have our one of the favorite parts of the agenda are the recognitions. So first we're going to do, and we have multiple recognitions today, we're going to start off with the recognitions of the 2025 AXA Award and nominations. So this will be something I will be sharing. The Pleasanton Unified School District of Trustees recognize the following administrators for receiving honors and nominations through the Association of California School Administrations Region 6 during the 2025-2026 school year. So we have a couple of nominations and awards. So we have AXA State Award nomination. First we have Dr. Maurice Geisels. He was nominated for the Ferd Keisel Memorial Distinguished Service Award, the most prestigious statewide recognition. Dr. Geisels, if you want to go, or I guess you could just speak here if you want to speak, or you can go to the podium and show off your award and speak for a few minutes.
No, I thank you very much, President McCoshy, and really didn't prepare to say anything, so that means I got to keep it under 20 minutes. No, thank you. It's really an honor. And you know, it's funny because it's about legacy and what I never would have dreamt in a million years, the privilege and honor it is to be the superintendent starting here and everything. It's just such an honor. And I just want to leave the place better than I arrived. And we're doing it, so thank you. And then we got others too, right?
Yes, we do have a few others. So for the Region 6 Administrator of the Year nomination, we have Marco Lopez, middle grades principal nominee. Do we have him here? Okay. Well, let's give him a big round of applause. And then we have the AXA Region 6 recognition. I do see Janet Gates, recipient of the AXA Region 6 President's Award in the recognition of service to Region 6 administrators. Come on up. Speak in the congratulations.
I don't have to speak. Oh, thanks. Did you want me to say something? Thank you. This was a recognition of the work that has happened over the last, since I became an administrator 11 years ago, and I was honored by the Association of California School Administrators with this award just for service over the course of that time in different roles. So thank you.
Come and show us a little, you have to show it to us so we can see. Show it to the audience. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then we also have Nanette Gray Marnov, recognition for years of service as the Region 6 representative to the State Council of AXA and CAPEA leaders. And maybe you can tell me what that stands for. Come on up. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for the recognition. So CAPEA means California Professors of Educational Administrators. So it's one of the many councils a part of AXA where we meet on a regular basis to talk about how we can support future administrators. So thank you so much for this honor.
Congratulations. Thanks for being here. Okay, so why don't we have all the trustees come up and we'll do photos. Okay, we do have another recognition. We're super excited and would like to also thank Lanita Villanueva for helping to refine the student board election process. And this is the first time we've been able to actually introduce the new student board trustee for the next upcoming school year. So I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Geisels, who's going to do the presentation of this next recognition.
Daria Kocha is an incoming 11th grade student at Amador Valley High School. He's a Don, and he and he has been elected as the 2026-27 Student Board Trustee for Pleasanton Unified School District. He was selected through a district-wide student election, which was very competitive, involving students from Amador Valley, Foothill, Village, and the Pleasanton Virtual Academy, PVA, earning the highest number of votes in the field of 6 candidates. He will serve as the student voice on the Board of Trustees, helping represent student perspectives and contributing to discussions on issues impacting PUSD schools and the broader student community. So welcome aboard. I will be meeting with you and members of Cabinet to start your orientation, and you will be sitting up with us our first meeting on August 13th. So thank you. Thank you. And it's an opportunity to say a few words.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, please. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be this year's PUSD Student Board Trustee, and hopefully I can make a difference in our community and help make this district even better. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, next, and standard in our agenda are the reports from our Employee Association presidents. We have the absence of the Association of Pleasanton Teachers president for Evan Branning and no other representation, so they will not be speaking tonight. However, we're super excited to have the California School Employee Association, CSCA, president, Ms. Kelly. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Ryan. Oh, wait. Oh, I can do it. Look, it turned green. Great. Good evening. My name is Ryan Kelly, Cabinet, board members. I am deeply concerned and confused by the direction this board has taken. As a district, we are supposed to be unified. It is in our name. Pleasanton Unified School District. Yet today, I can't help but feel that we are more divided than ever. CSCA bargained in good faith and worked diligently to meet the board's request of $1 million in negotiable savings. In the end, CSCA brought forward concessions totaling nearly $940,000. You have heard these numbers before, but they remain important because these represent real sacrifices made by classified employees. Now the board has asked us to bargain our remaining positions and reduction in hours that have not been saved by grants, PPIE, CSCA MOU, or CSCA MOU monies. While APT has yet to negotiate anything except asking for another pay raise. CSCA members have already experienced reductions in work calendars, additional layoffs, and reductions in hours. Management has also suffered reductions in workdays. However, Certificated staff have not experienced reductions in calendar days, pay, or hours. Any reductions they may have experienced are largely tied to declining enrollment rather than negotiated concessions. Meanwhile, CSEA members continue to absorb the impact. Our members are the employees who support students, assist families, maintain our campuses, provide health services, support technology, and keep our schools operating every day. They have stepped forward repeatedly to help address the district's financial challenges. As we continue to face budget difficulties, I ask the board to look beyond individual bargaining units and consider the needs of the entire Pleasanton Unified community. Classified staff, parents, management, and most importantly, our students. We are supposed to be Pleasanton Unified. It is time we began acting like it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. This is for anything that is not on the current agenda. And just a couple reminders to address the board. We ask you to complete a public comment card and submit it to Lanita. And then in regards to the general public comment, typically we ask each speaker to limit their comments to 3 minutes. This is a request so that everyone has equal amount of time. As per the Brown Act, the board may not take action or engage in the discussion on any items. However, a trustee may briefly respond or give information requests for more information to staff. So with that said, do we have any comments for public comment? Yes. And if there's anyone who's not had an opportunity to fill out a card, you can also come speak and then fill out the card afterwards. But we'll pass it off to Lanita. Yes, thank you.
So the first 3 speakers, Cheryl Pacheco, Patty Hanafi, and Amanda Circacci.
And when you come up to the podium, please just reintroduce your name prior to speaking. Thank you. Coming up, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Pacheco. I'm head counselor at Amador Valley High School, and I'm here tonight with Amador Counseling and Foothill counselors. We're here to advocate for our students, and we're requesting that the cuts to 1.0 counselor at Amador and 1.0 counselor at Foothill are brought back to our school sites for next school year. Pleasanton students deserve the best, and students need their counselors. Thank you.
Thank you. So next person, please come on up. Once again, reintroduce your name to the podium.
Hi, I'm Patty Hanafi, science specialist from Donlin. And I want to thank you first because I know this has been a brutal year for everybody. And I do want to thank you for the time and the energy that you have put in this budget season. The decisions before you are not easy, and that is not lost on our community. Tonight's budget presentation includes something worth pausing on: $2 million in new ongoing revenue and a restoration list that brings back elementary specialists, counselors, and intervention support for $2.14 million. If you are that close to making these cuts disappear entirely, I'm asking you take that option tonight. These programs exist because they work. They keep kids engaged, supported, and on track regardless of which school they attend or what resources they have at home. They are how we ensure every child has access to enriching experiences, not just the ones whose families can fill the gap. Once dismantled, rebuilding costs far more than preserving. The path to keeping these programs is in tonight's presentation, and I'm asking you to take it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Circacci, and I'm an intervention specialist. I'm speaking tonight about this position at the elementary sites. I am encouraged to see that on the annual budget slide deck, slide 25 shows that there is consideration to restore positions such as music, science, PE, high school counselors, and intervention specialists. I have shared at previous board meetings about the critical work and student support that intervention specialists provide for kindergarten through 5th grade students. But tonight, I'd like to share the unique perspective that intervention specialists have, which no other staff members share. Intervention specialists are the only staff members on campuses who work with students in a targeted and systematic way and work with teacher teams at each site and grade level. This is important to note because that perspective allows us to support and guide teachers in their core instruction, shoring up effective and reliable teaching strategies. Teacher teams are receptive to our input because we are teachers too, working alongside with them each and every day. With each other, working as a team, grade level teachers and intervention specialists plan for the needs of all students, all of them, create the learning goals, monitor progress, and get to celebrate those successes. Keeping one intervention specialist per site is critical to maintain the effective instruction that's happening across all of our elementary campuses.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Tammy Danielson.
Hello. My name is Tammy Danielson, and I've worked for the Pleasanton Unified School District for over 30 years. I am also a resident. First of all, I'd like to address the fact that there are some people on the board who feel like it's okay to bully our staff members. In my humble opinion, it is never acceptable for a school board member to be disrespectful to staff. Inappropriate behavior or bullying creates a toxic work environment and drives away talented staff. The dais is not the appropriate venue to bring your personal issues to the forefront. Sometimes I feel like you make decisions based on personal interests rather than the district's best interest. I feel that you spend way too much time and energy focused on what is wrong and far too little time on what makes this district desirable. You should be spending your time on being champions of all the work that everyone is doing and what is actually going right. Does it make you feel good about yourself to treat staff with disrespect? If I was a person wanting to work here, I would watch a board meeting and see how you treat the staff. If I saw what I am seeing currently going on, I would think twice about working here. Disrespect starts with you. I think all of you need to think about that. When you're on the dais, it's like you're posturing for the camera. But let me ask you this, who do you think watches these meetings? The people watching the most are staff members. And when we come to work the next day, we are talking about how disrespectful the board members were to our staff, or how they placated to one person who got up and spoke at the podium, or even how the board changed their decision based on who's sitting in the audience. Your position must prioritize the entity's well-being above your own personal or professional interests. Your position demands your undivided allegiance to the district. Your position is not to micromanage or undermine the staff members. Your interactions should be respectful at all times. I consistently see a lack of respect, esteem, or courteous regard for our staff. Speaking to staff in an insulting, impolite, or rude manner is the exact opposite of showing value, honor, or consideration. This breeds contempt on so many levels. You should be holding yourselves to a higher standard. When you speak with disrespect, you give permission to teachers, parents, and other parties to speak to staff in that manner. You need to model respect, not disrespect. As a rule, board members should not be sharing their personal issues from the dais. Public meetings are strictly for conducting official district business. Using the dais to overshare personal details blurs the lines of fiduciary duty, wastes public time, and makes some staff members feel the need to defend themselves to appease the board. As a community member and staff member for 30 years, I have been with every superintendent and board that has been here since 1996. I can tell you with great honesty that this particular board is not being kind or respectful of the hard work that staff produces each and every day. Staff comes to present just a smidge of the work that they are working on and producing, and they have to stand here and receive disrespectful comments and questions. If someone was treating your spouse, partner, or child this way, I don't believe that you would be okay with it. So why are you okay with being a bully to the staff? You are creating distrust, division, and divisiveness instead of creating a culture of belonging and partnership for the good of our students. You need to think about what kind of culture you want for Pleasanton Unified. I hope you to make the right decision and start treating staff with respect. They are hardworking individuals and deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, as we all do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Others? Okay, I'm going to just ask if there's anyone else in the audience that would like to come up for public comment. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go to the message from the board. I'm going to pass it to Trustee Jones, who has a few words, and then I am going to do a presentation as well. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Charlie Jones, and I am the trustee from Area 4. I want to personally apologize to Mr. Schrag, Mr. Butterfield, and Mr. Dialasso, because at the last meeting when you did the ad hoc presentation, instead of speaking to you as colleagues, I did cross the line. I was rude to you. I lectured towards you instead of working with you, and I used a tone that was definitely angry and unacceptable, which is not the correct behavior to model at any point towards anyone. I know we've done this on the board before, and so I wanted to personally apologize for that. You deserve better, and I will do better in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Jones. Okay, next I will be presenting the message from the board. Governance is a trust, and we as school board members for our district are trustees, and both the trust and the trustees are created for the benefit of the people, and in our case, for the students of PUSD. As a board, we must remember to govern effectively. Our school board must be laser focused by making decisions that align to district processes and resources to ensure long-term stability for our district. Providing robust educational services for our students is of our utmost priority through sustainable long-term funding. Unfortunately, for the past 6 years, PUSD has been deficit spending by an average of $3 million annually, with reserves drastically depleted from 11% in 2020 to a negative of 1.1% this past school year. This is compounded by the nearly 1,800 students we have lost since the 2019-2020 school year, which equates to nearly $18 million. And let's not forget, our district is one of 290 California school districts funded below the statewide median. So what does that mean? Approximately here in Pleasanton, as per the ADA, we receive $12,800 per student, whereas the average is 12% more at $14,673. It's no wonder the state mirrors the same challenges. And despite the current state revenue boom, the state now faces a structural budget imbalance. And what does this mean? Ongoing revenues are insufficient to support ongoing expenditures. In other words, revenues are both volatile and uncertain. It can grow or shrink rapidly. Let it be said clearly, as a local board, we must stay attuned to the financial constraints we are facing statewide. One, any operating statewide deficits during a revenue boom of this magnitude is itself a warning sign. Number two, with the state's diminished reserves and an already accumulated wall of debt, California is ill-prepared to even slip up in any revenues, according to the LAO, Legislative Analysis Offices. Excuse me, Legislative Analysis Office. So let's be clear. Fiscal solvency and strategic long-term planning must stay in the forefront as we, the PUSD board, moves forward into the next school year, because then, and only then, will our constituents and voters see that our board is fiscally responsible, and that due to unequitable funding sources, that a parcel tax and or other creative revenue generating incentives will ultimately be the only viable option to relieve and overcome the funding gaps our district continues to face. Thank you. Now I'm passing it off to the superintendent's report. Dr. Geisels.
Thank you, President McCaughey, and thank you, Trustee Jones. We have plenty of recognitions tonight. Again, welcome Daria Kochar. Thank you. And our new principal, Linda, where are you? Bovita, a vice principal. Thank you, jumping the gun here. And then what I really want to get down to the list is we have walked in Marco Lopez, who is nominated for Regional Principal of the Year. Did you bring your plaque? Yeah. You have it? Show everyone. Marco, congratulations. You're just top notch. Pleasanton Middle School, thank you for coming. There it is. Thank you. Also, I want to recognize Josh Butterfield. He's been in the district for over, 2 decades. One of the most remarkable positions to teach, and that is high school band music. Started out there, I think that was at Foothill, Josh, right? And then went over to Amador and eventually became the VP and principal of Amador. I've had the pleasure of working with him for 2 years. And we wish you all the best in Castro Valley. You've put a dent in the universe, and you've definitely made PSD better than when you first arrived. Thank you. Let's give him a hand. Tonight, we're going to go over the final draft of the strategic plan, and trustees, you'll be happy to know that the good news is that we're going to make the agenda items shorter. The bad news, you're going to have some homework. So we're going to do that. Advocacy 1204, very interesting bill. This has raised the base. And we started out with just a handful of people, and we're over 50 districts signed up now. And you know what this means is there's 3 levels of funding. Those community-funded districts that collect more property taxes than the state would give them for the basic guarantee, they get to keep all that money. So you have districts out in the peninsula that get 2 to 3 times more pupil funding. And then in the middle, you have districts with way more, no one likes these words, unduplicated count students. It's students from households of poverty. It's students who are English language learners, and the list goes on. We only have 16% of our students are unduplicated. So $5 million out of a $230 million budget is just budget dust compared to these other districts. So we want to float all boats. And last Tuesday or Wednesday, President McCaughey, we went up. Trustee Mary Jo Carrion went up Wednesday. Evan Branning, APT president, parents, and we spoke. I testified along with David Roth, who's the superintendent of the Buckeye School District. And it was interesting because we were talking to the Senate Education Committee, and although they passed on the bill, we really got their attention in the sense that when we raise the base, we're not taking away from these equity, supplemental, and concentration money. Those go up too. What 1204 wants to do is actually lower the threshold and give more money for concentration funds, exacerbating already this wide swath deviation of funding. So we're going again on Monday at the Capitol. I'm pretty excited about this time. We'll talk about the Senate Appropriations Committee. And I heard from an AXO legislator this morning that, we're slowing the bill down. There's a lot of noise in the legislature right now, and we're hoping that it gets reworked. One comment I think worth repeating was that one senator said, this is a big deal and it deserves a lot more discussion. So I would like to think we made a difference last Wednesday, and we definitely will on Monday too. And I do want to particularly thank Suzanne Frey, who's not here tonight, who does all the work coordinating all this stuff with all these people and all these words. I attended the Human Algorithm Summit that was put on by Workday because as the superintendent, I really want to jump in and be a user of AI to better understand it. And the conference was a worldwide conference, and it was really about connecting using AI. You know, there's a lot of frightening things that came out of the internet, that came out of applications, that come out of social media, and the devastating data on loneliness with teenagers, with everyone. So the conference was basically how to these emerging companies looking at using AI, not like social media to connect, but actually to get kids and people in our society to connect face to face. It was absolutely fascinating, and you're on the verge of just one other evolution here. A lot of time this week has been spent on my own self-evaluation and the evaluation of my direct reports. The entire leadership team wraps that up next week. In terms of, you're going to see a lot about the budget tonight and the review of the first pass of how the governor's budget is being translated to PUSD, and know that it hasn't been passed yet, but what does it mean in this snapshot in this time. Measure I projects, Amador, the demolition has begun inside the gym and the buildings, and July actually the outside wrecking ball will start to come out, and literally the dust will be flying. And if you've looked at both Hart and Harvest Park, you see that they're getting a similar diamond in the rough turf field like in Panther, Principal Lopez, your beautiful field out there. And educational services, in my entire career, I've never seen such a robust and bought into adoption as our Amplify ELA and mathematics. It's just awesome. And the Monday after school came out, over 100 teachers were again at PMS. You're going to get a big head because everybody wants to go to PMS. Over 100 teachers were there with professional development. The materials were just unbelievable. We got kids club summer camp, 635 kids. We got the vendors warming up. We got ESY, extended school year, coming up. And the graduations were just fantastic, both at Foothill and at Amador. And we got lucky because the weather was so great and it was not so hot like last year. And then summer break, and then all the promotions too, with the middle schools and the like. And then what I want to end it with is there's just one more board meeting on June 25th, but I want to end that this month, June observances, join us for Pride Month across our school community. And this is for the board resolution that was approved last meeting. We wanted to approve it in May so we could get it ahead of time to celebrate the whole month of June. So that's it. And President McCaughey.
Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. This is standard and covers information that is typically routine in nature. It is categorized by the various departments, so you'll see that there is the superintendent's office, the human resources, and further down business services, for example, and educational services. So at this point in time, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda unless there's a particular item that a trustee would like to pull for discussion or for any other reason. And I'm looking for a motion.
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll do roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion passes 3 with 2 absent. Thank you. Okay, for the meat and potatoes of our board meeting, this is the board discussion, board action. We have our first agenda item, which is the California State University Direct Admissions Partnership. And who do we have the pleasure to do this presentation? All right, Josh, you got the floor. Thank you.
I'll be joining too. Thank you, President McCaughey. I'll make my way over there as Director Butterfield gets set up, so I'll be right over there. All right. So good evening, President McCaughey, Superintendent Geisels, Cabinet, staff, and community. So Mr. Butterfield and I are super excited to talk about this initiative and potential partnerships should the board approve. It's called the California State University Direct Admissions Partnership, and it's exactly that. It's a direct admissions opportunity for our students to access the Cal State University process. So tonight, we want to, next slide, whoever's driving, thank you, Josh. So tonight, we want to talk about what this is. What is this? We'll give you a little bit of an overview. We want to talk about what are the benefits of this partnership, what are the admissions opportunities, and then more importantly, really, what are the benefits to our students and to our families who now will have an opportunity to get into the CSU system. So CSU Direct Admissions is designed to simplify the transition from high school to college. So rather than waiting for students to discover whether they're eligible, Cal State University proactively identifies students who are on track to meet admission requirements and communicates directly with the students. That's really, really critical. Students still complete the application process, but they receive early notification that they're likely eligible for admission. So instead of waiting, they go through a process, they're notified like you are eligible to be a CSU eligible student. So the goal is to remove uncertainty, encourage students to continue to meet eligibility requirements, and increase college going rates. Again, this is the core. As I mentioned, the core of this program is really about opportunity. And the reason being is that they're uncertain. Some students may be uncertain about their qualifications. They may be intimidated by the whole application process. And simply some students may not see themselves going to college, frankly. So who are we talking about here specifically? We understand as C&I and Ed Services that maybe our students who are first generation get impacted by sort of this mystique of Cal State University admissions, UC admissions. So we want to make sure that we're kind of holding them by their hands a little bit more. Students from historically underrepresented groups that go to Cal State, or I'm sorry, that go to college, this is just another way to help them, encourage them, and really lead them through that path, and specifically about the A to G requirements. Okay. It's also grounded in Senate Bill 640. So this legislation builds upon earlier pilot efforts and formally requires Cal State University to offer admission opportunities to eligible students. It also extends the Transfer Success Pathway program and establishes, like I said, that direct admissions process. Eligibility is based primarily on two factors: successful completion of the A to G coursework and qualifying GPA calculation at the end of their junior year. So this creates that transparent and predictable process for students and families. A little bit about the pilot. It was conducted in Riverside County. You could see the numbers there. Essentially, the gist of this particular slide is that the pilot resulted in a 15.2% increase for CSU applications and 15% increase in admissions. So the pilot was run in Riverside, like I mentioned, and then students, the other benefits really, like the students got on track and really were motivated to finish those A to G requirements. So I'll turn it to Josh.
Thank you. On the board, you're going to see what the student and group communication is going to look like as it goes out to students. So the communication is differentiated by students and how they're performing in our school district and through their coursework. So group one, who are CSU eligible, they're going to get a postcard in the mail saying, congratulations, you're ready, you're pre-accepted to these 16 campuses. Hop online and complete your application, you're going to be in. Obviously, there's some specialty programs, so there'll be a little disclaimer like if you're applying for a highly impacted program. The impacted CSUs won't be part of this process, so there's a few of them like Long Beach, Fullerton, and San Jose State, a couple others that are impacted that won't have the automatic pre-admission process. The second one is near CSU eligible, and this is actually an exciting one because this is going to prompt the students, hey, you're super close, you might be a little off your GPA, or you might have a course to finish. So see your counselor and get on track. And then group 3 is the mailer that, hey, you're a little off of eligibility right now, but don't worry, we have a transfer process that's going to get you there. The direct admission workflow is outlined on the next one. First, the district is going to enter a data sharing agreement with CSU. That's what the board is going to vote to approve tonight. And then we submit student eligibility information. This is through a platform that we've spent the last year putting into place in the district. So we've laid a strong foundation for it, and I want to thank Winter Jones, Junior Yee, and the tech team for really laying the foundation to put this into place. Then we will share that information with the Chancellor's Office of CSUs, and that generates the direct admission for our students. So our flow in this is that we're going to review and verify our student completion rates to make sure that that data is going out as accurate. And then we're going to coordinate counselor support and then also help students with FAFSA or DREAM Act requirements. These are all processes that our counselors are already doing with our students. We have an amazing high school counseling team, and they have routines that they're sharing this information with our students and supporting students through this process throughout their high school journey. The platform, by the way, is called California Colleges EDU, and so that's embedded right now into our system for all students. The next one is our family communication and FERPA requirements. We just want to make sure that the community and the board knows that this process does follow all FERPA requirements and that it is secure and safe, and it's a very critical component of this process. There's a lot of key benefits to our students. It increases access by helping students recognizing that college is attainable. It improves awareness through earlier communication about eligibility and next steps. It supports our equity goals by expanding opportunities for students who may not otherwise pursue higher education, and it reinforces the importance of completing A through G coursework and provides students with clear pathways to both direct CSU admissions and transfer opportunities. If the board approves participation tonight, implementation would occur over the next several months. During the summer, our team would finalize and submit the agreement. Late summer, early fall eligibility data will be submitted through the established process. CSU would then begin sending communications to eligible students for the pre-admission process. Our counseling teams, as they always do, will support outreach, answer questions, and help students to understand college-going opportunities that's right fit for the families that they serve.
Thank you very much. That ends our presentation. Our strong recommendation is for the board to consider and approve this MOU with Cal State University Direct Admissions Program. Thank you very much.
Okay, so at this time, the way we're going to do this is to bring it to the board for questions, then open it for public comment, and then bring it back for any other comments before we seek a motion. So pass it off to my fellow trustees for any questions. I have no questions. Okay, I don't either. So we'll open this item for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come and speak on this item, you may do so now. Seeing none, we'll bring it back for comments.
I'm really excited to see us move forward on this. We're trying to do similar in HUSD, so to see Pleasanton so far along in doing this is fantastic, and it'll definitely help out with our counselors. My counselor helped me with college applications is in the audience, so I'm sure you're looking forward to this too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I wish we had this back when my kids were going through, but college is attainable. That was the thing that stood out in your presentation. I need to get that message out, and the equity goals are met. So great work. I'm very happy we're doing this, and I can't wait to see the results.
I would just like to say this is super exciting. This is going to really help and provide additional supports for any of our students who may not have been college bound or, readiness to pursue college otherwise. So super excited for this potential opportunity for the growth. And then just want to confirm, Mr. Butterfield, is this your last presentation?
Yeah, this is my last presentation.
So I just wanted to personally tell you it's been an honor to work with you. It's a huge loss for the Do you have another presentation?
He has one more. So.
Oh, well, I'm going to still say it anyway.
I thought you were letting me off early for the evening. I thought I got to get home, but my boss is still here.
Yeah, we have one more presentation for
I'm
you.
going to say this now, and then I can say it again. I just think it's a huge loss for the district to see you go, but I'm sure you're going to have a great opportunity of growth and potential at Castro Valley. I'm a little jealous for your potential moving onward. Hopefully we can steal you back down the road. So just wanted to tell you it's been an honor to work with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so with that, looking for a motion and a second.
I motion.
I will second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll do a roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye, motion passes 3 with 2 absent. And then just a procedural item, I'm going to bring back the consent agenda back up for public comment. I forgot to do that. So I'm going to adjust the schedule, and we're going to open up consent. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any items on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that. So that was just a procedural correction. Okay, so next we're going to B, which is report and discussion, public hearing for potential adoption of curriculum for the 5th grade, adolescent human growth and development.
Thank you. I'll introduce this one, and then I'll leave it to the team to present. President McCaughey, this is a report and discussion only. It's a public hearing tonight, and it's on the potential adoption of the curriculum for 5th grade adolescent human growth development. And I'll let the team of excellent people here introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Dialazzo. I want to do a quick introduction. I'm David Schrag, Director of Elementary Education. I'm joined tonight by Sarah Knox, our Coordinator of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. We also have Erin Nidell, our Integration Specialist, and we're also joined by the amazing Melissa Schussel, a 5th grade teacher at Donlin Elementary. So, good evening, everyone. Tonight we're bringing forward a recommendation for a supplemental health education resource for 5th grade. This recommendation is the result of a comprehensive review process that's centered on teacher expertise, legal compliance, student needs, and community transparency. Tonight we'll briefly review the need for this work, the process we use, the district lens that guided our review, the committee's recommendation, teacher perspective from the pilot, and our implementation plan moving forward.
We want to begin by recognizing our committee members who participated in this. This was truly teacher-driven work. We assembled a representative group of 5th grade educators from multiple elementary school sites, along with district curriculum staff and instructional support personnel. Their voices were critical throughout every stage of the review and pilot process. So health education is obviously much broader than a single lesson or unit. California's framework includes 6 content areas that support students in developing their knowledge and skills necessary to make healthy decisions in their lives. This review process considered how any resource that we would potentially be recommending for adoption fits within this broader vision of health education. So the area we're focusing on tonight is growth, development, and sexual health. California's framework outlines age-appropriate learning, expectations that build progressively across the grades, depending on what is developmentally appropriate at that age. Our goal is to ensure that 5th grade instruction is developmentally appropriate, aligned to state guidance, and responsive to our students' needs in the local context here. So the work began, there we go. The work began because we recognized a significant problem of practice. Our existing materials that were last adopted in 1995, as you can see on the timeline, had become outdated and no longer fully aligned with current California requirements or teacher needs. So teachers consistently had expressed a desire for clearer guidance, stronger training, and resources that better support today's students. So this timeline, that timeline illustrates why an update was necessary. While our previously adopted materials had served the district for many years, and many people had memorized the song that was in the videos that we used to have. Yeah, people have it, know it in the audience. Significant changes have occurred, including the California Healthy Youth Act, the Health Framework, and updated state guidance documents. So by this year, it's become very clear that a thorough review was needed.
The committee reviewed 3 supplemental programs, 3 R's, Rights, Respect, and Responsibility, Puberty Talk and from Health Connected, and Positive Prevention Plus. Committee members examined lessons, teacher materials, assessments, and overall usability. We also considered how practical each resource would be for classroom teachers to implement successfully.
So in addition to teacher review, we evaluated each resource through 4 district lenses: legal compliance, equity and inclusion, implementation support, and the scope of the curriculum. And this ensured that our recommendation considered not only content quality, but also practical classroom implementation, which and also, of course, access for all students. So after extensive review, the committee reached consensus in recommending Health Connected's Puberty Talk for 5th grade. The committee found that it best met our instructional goals, aligned with state requirements, and provided support for teachers, which we found really important. So teachers appreciated the program's clear structure, medically accurate content, and student-centered approach. The lessons provide developmentally appropriate information while supporting meaningful class discussions and student engagement.
And at this point, we would like to invite Melissa Schessel, a teacher from the pilot committee, to briefly share her experience implementing the pilot and feedback that she received from the students.
Thank you. Adopting a new curriculum, as you can imagine, can be very intimidating, especially when we were incorporating new laws to us. And so we found that the virtual training really gave us a good foundation, but I really want to appreciate Aaron and Sarah because they allowed us to come together and continue that conversation so we could think about what works best for Pleasanton and our kids and our classrooms. So we were able to then feel really reassured and capable of doing this work. What I appreciated most about Puberty Talks was its flexibility. It had a binder, which you could read script word for word, or you could read ahead of time and then kind of present it in your own way. It also allowed us to use slides effectively, so kids had a visual to go along with it as well. I found at the very beginning our kids were, every year, they're always a little nervous about this concept. They usually think it's going to be a little bit more than it actually is, but this program had a great first day. It was all about building community and trust within your walls. So it was agree or disagree, so we could all hear each other out. And I was so impressed with how well my kids were able to share their thinking on this topic on day 1. You know, how would you feel about talking about puberty at home? Do you agree or disagree with that? You know, and they were having great conversations. And then it kind of led up to, if you're not comfortable asking or saying out loud, you can do an anonymous question card. So then we could, at the end of the day or the next day, come back and still make sure their questions were answered. I thought that by the end of the week, my kids were very mature about the content for the most part. And what I appreciated a lot about this program was it was centered on kindness and acceptance of all. And I thought that was really important when we were dealing with some new topics for our grade level that we haven't been used to doing before. And it wrapped up at the end talking about healthy friendships, boundaries, and consent, which is something all of our children need to know at any age, really. But when we're seeing in 5th grade just the friendship issues on the playground and this and that, it kind of brought everything together, right? And so it was a great way to wrap it up. But again, I really want to thank these two next to me because they were the driving force and listened to all of our questions and hesitations. And Sarah offered to have the parents come here to watch the materials and to ask questions, and she handled quite a few. But then our parents feel supported and they're feeling heard. And so I just want to thank you guys as well. But I do think this is a great program for what we have.
Thank you, Melissa, for sharing that really important teacher perspective. So a key factor in our recommendation was implementation support. So all 5th grade teachers will receive 6 hours of training to be able to deliver these new materials, as it is a big shift from our previous materials. Oh, thank you. And so in addition, just wanted to mention here, I know it's not part of the item, but the cost is pretty small in the grand scheme of things. So it's $600 per teacher to have the 6 hours of training, but it is really critical that they receive this training and all of the updated guidance from the state. And then there's a nominal cost for the binders and the license the teachers get. So it's $150 per teacher for that, and that would be like a one-time printing cost for that. Sorry. Go ahead.
So during the spring of 2026, the committee conducted a pilot in 8 fifth grade classrooms across PUSD. This allowed teachers to experience the materials firsthand and gather feedback from their students. The pilot provided valuable information about both the strengths of the program and the support needed for successful district-wide implementation. And throughout the process, we sought feedback from multiple stakeholders. Pilot teachers participated in discussions regarding their experiences. Students provided classroom feedback. Parents received information and had opportunities to review materials. Community members also had access to the materials at the district office. Providing transparency and multiple opportunities for input was an important part of this process.
So at our final meeting, members reviewed the feedback, discussed input from parents and students, and had a unanimous consensus building process around the selection. And so every teacher supported recommending Puberty Talk. So if approved, there we go. If approved, our next steps are straightforward. Teachers will receive the materials and training. Families will receive information about the curriculum and review process, and schools will communicate instructional timelines and the usual opt-out procedures. Families do have an opt-out right for this health education, consistent with state requirements. So really quickly, in the last 30 seconds that we have, I have one other brief health curriculum update that is for high school health. So there's a new there is new legislation, AB 2429, that mandates fentanyl education in high school health courses if you offer a high school health course. And this is beginning in 26-27. And so it includes understanding fentanyl, recognizing overdose symptoms, and learning about prevention and response strategies. So really briefly, we talked to the health education teachers. We asked, what are you currently doing? We had a sense that they were already doing this, but we wanted to double check that. PUSD is well positioned to meet this requirement. Our existing secondary health curriculum already addresses substance abuse prevention, refusal skills, and fentanyl awareness. We're also partnering with local experts, including Kaiser Permanente, to provide real-world experiences and practical training opportunities for students. And that's it.
One quick thing before I give for questions is that this item is not up for action tonight. We wanted to present it tonight, and then we'll bring it back for the next meeting just to comply with our public hearing requirements. But we will be bringing it back for action for approval next board meeting on the 25th. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Okay, questions?
Hi, thank you for bringing this. My first question for you is just how, because it's awesome that you reached consensus on this, because as I've been through this process, it's not always easy to do. So how was it reaching that consensus?
It was very easy. Actually, it was, we had a group of teachers. I've worked with many of them for years. And so I think we've all been teaching fifth grade for years. So we kind of know what we had and what we were looking for to, have a better program. And when we compared it to the other program we were looking at, we felt this one was hands down the stronger of the two. It also would allow a new teacher who hasn't been teaching it for years to be able to pick it up and have, like I said earlier, a script and just read this until you're comfortable, because it's, it can be interesting information depending on how comfortable you are with it. And so we thought this would be really easy for anyone to kind of pick up and go with. We even talked about how we could make the program better, what videos we'd want to use. Let's maybe actually make it longer than the time. Like, we could see how we could make it work better for our kids as like a science program. So it was very easy. We were all, I don't think anyone was questioning it. It was just more like, how can we continue to make it better?
Okay. And then also, so let's say that we have like a teacher that transitions from like 4th to 5th grade. Would we be able to have staff do the training for them to help them out, or would we be able to bring in potentially?
Yeah, great question. So they offer this nonprofit that Health Connected that puts this curriculum out, has regular fall, winter, and spring open enrollment trainings that we would be able to, they're virtual, that we would be able to send teachers to. We could also provide in-house training, but typically the Health Connected, if they're going to give a teacher a license, they want to ensure that they receive the full 6 hours of training. So we would want to have that be an ongoing support for new teachers or teachers moving grade levels.
Okay. And then my last question is related to AB 2429. So since we're talking about fentanyl testing and strips and things like that, do we also have those potentially on campus in case we need to do any sorts of testing? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So we have the Janet. Remind me, what's the anti-fentanyl? Narcan, thank you. So we have Narcan available at our sites, and we do training, right, Janet, annually. So yes, that's part of the, attending to the fentanyl possible overdoses. We do have that on our campuses.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I just have a quick question. Okay, so for the 6, you said it's a very scripted, the lessons are very scripted and you read from it. So what do you do in the 6-hour training? Is it just like expanding on what you could do with each? What do you do in the training?
I'll definitely defer to the educators here, but they go through all the slides. So they basically walk you through. So there are slides that accompany. That's really the driving force. There's a couple of handouts which you can see in the materials there for students, but the primary driver are slides that lead the students through these lessons. And so they go through the slide decks. They talk about potential, trouble areas that could come up in terms of conversations or pain points for students and how to navigate those, because a lot of these teachers, again, have never received formal training in this specific topic. They've been trained in a lot of other things, but this specific thing can be uncomfortable for people to talk about if you're not
6
trained.
6 hours going to be enough?
Yeah. Well, actually, you can speak to how comprehensive it was.
It was very comprehensive. I mean, they basically taught us the lessons. And then that was kind of helpful to see, this is what we would be covering, because there's new information since 1995. And so I know I was kind of nervous because you want to present it respectfully and accepting and kind and all those things, and you want to make sure that you're not going to say the wrong thing. Right. And so hearing someone else kind of go through it, but then also have the script, so on game day I'm ready and I'm not, okay, if I'm feeling nervous about this, I can just read this part, make sure it comes out the way I intended it to. I think that was really helpful. Virtual training is great in some aspects, but also kind of like I missed that interaction. And so that's what it was nice as part of a team. As soon as we were like, hey, can we meet and talk about this now? That was really helpful. But they gave us a lot of the law in the background and the understanding, so you knew when you came in for the lesson the why. The why. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And our plan for, based on that teacher feedback for training, would be to bring all of our teachers on the day together to watch the virtual training and then be able to have those discussions during the breaks and things like that.
Thank you.
I just have a few questions from a perspective of a parent. So sometimes parents, my first question is, I believe when my children were in 5th grade, parents had to sign consent waivers. Is that still going to be the same process?
Yeah, so the process remains the same. We send a letter out, and the parents for health, for this specific unit, would have to say, we would like to opt out of this curriculum, and then we would have to, at the site level, we work with the principal and the staff there to have an alternative activity for the students during the lessons. It's going to be a little bit more challenging because it was prior to this, it was a video that the students watched, and now it would be, over multiple days. These lessons are more comprehensive, and so, we'll have to work with principals to have a really clear plan for how to support families and students who would like to opt out of this. We encourage all families to participate. We are going to have a webinar that actually Health Connected, we can work with them to either learn that content or have them present the content for parents so that parents are really clear about what is in the new curriculum. And then we will continue, as we have always, and like I did this year, allow parents to come and meet with curriculum and instruction staff to be able to preview all of the lessons so that they can make informed decisions about what's best for their family.
So following up on that, has there ever been cases where parents may have an objection to a certain section of the information that will be presented to the children, and are there options for, like, how does that work if that is ever come up as a concern?
Do you want me to speak to it? Yeah. So prior to this past, I think 2025, November 2025, there was a Supreme Court ruling that basically was speaking to parents having the ability to opt their students out of gender-specific novels and literature. It was really specific. It was a really specific ruling related to literature, and we talked about it here actually at a board meeting. So prior to that ruling, parents could not, because of anti-discrimination law, they could not opt out of a specific part of health curriculum. For example, they couldn't opt out of something that was related to gender identity because they didn't agree with that and they wanted the students to receive the rest of the curriculum. The rules around that, because of that recent ruling, and I'm forgetting the name of the case, but I can look it up. It's Mahmoud is the thank you. And that has blurred the lines a little bit, but the bottom line is that we have an opt-out process, and if parents want to opt out, they can opt their student out of the curriculum, the entire lessons, but we want to support and make sure that all students feel safe and have access to health education here. So I don't know if that answers your question.
So based upon your response, my question would be, is there going to be flexibility for parents to opt out in certain sections, or is it all or nothing?
I think
moving something to think about. I don't know.
It is, and we've thought about it. This year during the pilot, we were trying to be flexible because it is a pilot. Moving forward, now that we're going to have it be district-wide, we would need to consult with council and our legal team to see, are we in compliance with not just anti-discrimination laws, but also with whatever precedent or lack of precedent recent Supreme Court rulings have on this, because there is sort of the specific ruling was around literature and novels, and specifically related to secondary, high schools, what they're reading, the novels that they're reading. So this would be an interpretation of that beyond the scope of what the ruling actually was, but there's a lot of chatter in the regional California sexual health groups and networks that I meet with around the interpretation of that at the board and district levels. So more to come, and I think it would be really wise of us to consult with our legal counsel on how to specifically word the opt-out information for parents to make it clear, and also to speak about that in the webinars that we provide to parents as well. So that was a really long answer. Sorry.
Did you want to say something?
No, I think we need to, I think according to the ruling, there is a provision that allows parents to opt out to a part of it, but I think based on Ms. Knox's answer, we do want to make sure we have, we're solid in terms of if that's an option for parents who, again, there's also considerations with logistics parts of this. So the teachers are teaching it on different days and other things. So how a parents can identify the day that you do this, so that we're going to have to do some more research on whether parents have the ability to opt out of a section or a small piece of it.
Yeah, so the only reason why I was asking is because I know there might be some, I know there's other factors related to like religious reasons or for other family value priorities. We have a very diverse community. And I know you gave examples, but it could probably be the breadth of any particular section of the curriculum. It needs to be considered. And I just know also sometimes as trustees we've received emails and letters on certain elements, and I'm not making reference to any particular topic, but it is a touchy health curriculum because it's very sensitive to the development, human development of children. But there are families who have either, you know, like I said, religious perspectives of expectations of the timing and when children should be introduced to this information. And I think it's also great, the other comment I would make would be how this curriculum might segue into some of the health professional development, health curriculum for the middle school and the high school as well. So, sorry, that's long-winded. Those are all my questions. So, are there any other questions based upon the discussion? So, if not, I'm going to open this because it is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the public that would like to come speak on this particular topic. Seeing none, we'll close this public hearing. Any other comments before we move? There is no action, as they already stated. This is the first hearing, and then it will come up on the 25th. Okay.
Thank you for doing this because, again, this is not an easy one to do, especially with fifth graders. I did it in 2001, so I very much remember that video, and it's always fun. It's always funny too because, you know, like even. Right, like we all remember it, but like even when kids opt out, they still will hear it on the playground because, oh my God, kids say everything on the playground. But yeah, so I really appreciate you guys taking the time working through this and doing it because, yeah, it's been a long time coming for this update, and seeing a lot of these subjects finally available would have been really great when I was going through it. So I appreciate this coming forward.
Yes, I appreciate it, and Melissa, I really appreciated the teacher perspective. I just want to concur with Trustee McCaughey. The opt-out, you know, the logistics of that, I think is really important. It's a very touchy subject. So, thank you, and thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay, so we are moving on to the report discussion. This is the first reading as well for the LCAP. This is routine in nature. This comes every year. So we are passing this off to whom? All right, Mr. Dialazzo.
All right, thank you for the transition time there, President McCaughey. So similar to the previous item, this is also a public hearing. So this is our first reading of the local control accountability plan, otherwise known as LCAP. So let's go ahead and reintroduce ourselves because we have a new member here.
Josh Butterfield, Director of Secondary Education.
Debbie Neighbors, Coordinator of Accountability and Special Programs.
So I intentionally wanted Debbie to introduce herself along with Josh. She's our Coordinator of Accountability and Special Projects, and Debbie has really been the person to hold all of this together, all the LCAP planning, and especially the LCAC, which is the advisory committee for the LCAP plan. And Debbie, just want to thank you for holding all that together, having the meetings, and really shepherding this whole thing. So thank you. Alrighty, so just for a little bit of background for the board, the LCAP serves as a 3-year plan, and you could see there on the chart there, we're going on to our 26-27 year, which is the 3rd cycle of the LCAP. So just to ground our work a little bit, we do have board adopted goals, and the thing to remember about the LCAP plan is it takes the state priorities and really wants us as an organization to look at our organizational goals and how do our organizational goals and the state priorities really align. And the goal is to align to serve a specific targeted student group. So we have our organizational plan there, like I mentioned, around personalized learning, comprehensive wellness, and also that kind of deeper commitment to equity. But yeah, thank you, Josh. But we also really want to make sure that we allocate our resources accordingly. So when we talk about culturally responsive staff, community partnerships, how do all those things guide our work on the day-to-day basis? And we really want to break that down tonight for the board, going from the state goals to our local goals to what does that look like for our students. Another quick reminder in terms of the funding formula, the LCFF, which is the local control funding formula, is the formula of how we get funded as a school district. The LCAP is targeted, and when I say targeted, it's specific to our English learners, our low-income students, our foster youth, and our homeless youth. So kind of keep that in mind as we go through the presentation tonight in terms of the specific goals and how do we allocate our money to serve that specific population. Superintendent Geisel said it earlier, it's about $5 million is what we're talking about, and it's related to that unduplicated population of students that I just mentioned, EL, homeless youth, foster youth, and low SES, or socioeconomic status. Josh. Or Debbie, sorry, Debbie.
It'll go to me. All right. The California's 8 state priorities are the framework for our LCAP and all LCAPs, so we need to structure around that. And so you can see those 3 main categories of conditions of learning, student outcomes, and engagement. And ultimately, the LCAP is our strategic plan to balance these 3 core areas to ensure that we are making foundational improvements and diving deeper into student achievements, community connections, as well as addressing equity gaps we may have. So the conditions of learning, so these are our metrics from the dashboard. The conditions of learning remain high. The other areas under student outcomes, we are continuing to demonstrate overall academic excellence, with each area doing a slight increase. In both in ELA and math, our engagement metrics reflect a positive climate, a slightly increased graduation rate, and a low suspension rate. And just want to acknowledge that while these district-wide averages are strong, there are achievement and attendance gaps among our targeted student groups that remain the primary focus of the LCAP. And so differentiated assistance is part of the process. This means we have been, differentiated assistance is when the county looks at the requirements of the state, and if you meet certain requirements, such as underperforming student groups in multiple areas, you may be targeted for differentiated assistance, which just means you need to ensure you are providing actions that specifically support that student group. Following improved suspension rates for African American students on the 2025 dashboard, we are no longer in differentiated assistance for our African American student group, but rather it's now shifted to our homeless youth because in particular for English language arts and suspension rates. And we also have 3 schools that are in targeted support, which if you look at our elementaries, we have 2 schools, Hearst and Vintage Hills, for chronic absenteeism for students with disabilities, which we know is a common issue that we're often trying to support, as well as Village High School focusing on suspension rates for socioeconomically disadvantaged and Hispanic students. And then we also want to note that the district is continuing its work with the Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Support, also known as CSACE, to address the special education disproportionality with our Hispanic and African American students. And the development process of the LCAP it moves through different phases of learning and processing, and I will say, and as well as developing recommendations. That's where the LCAC, the Local Control Area Committee, comes into play. They are a very engaged community group made up of staff members, parents, and this year a majority of students, which was great to see, including our incoming student school board representative. And so this year it was a little bit unique in that the work led to adjustments as we managed budget shifts, because we knew those were greatly impacted. Specifically identifying actions for our unduplicated students that could be covered by these restricted funds and helping to relieve pressure on the district's general funds.
The next series of slides, we're going to take you through brief high-level overviews of goals and actions and strategies tied to each one of the goals. So you'll see the goal listed at the top of each slide. On each of these slides, you're going to see highlighted in green adjustments or changes to the action for the 26-27 school year. You'll see highlighted in blue any new actions as we go through this process. So for goal number 1, this remains focused on enhancing personalized learning opportunities for our diverse student population. Most of the actions on this goal continue from last year with only minor budgetary adjustments. Action 1.5 has been reinstated. It's been in prior year LCAPs, but is reinstated in this particular one that focuses on supporting English learners. And it protects secondary ELD sections at our secondary schools for smaller class sizes to support English learners, particularly newcomer students. Continuing with Goal 1, Action 1.10 maintains specialized supplemental ELD curriculum resources at the middle school to provide targeted academic language support for English learners and dual language students to improve equitable access. Action 1.13 shifts student internet hotspot funding back into the LCAP to secure essential home-to-school connectivity. So these are hotspots that we provide students who need financial support to access internet from their home. This is support that we've been providing, but we're aligning it with the LCAP strategy since it is really tied into supporting our focused student groups here.
Did you want to do the last item?
And then under the new actions, there's also, 1.14 credit recovery support. So our credit recovery programs have been supported through some one-time grant funding, so we're shifting them into a more sustainable model so we have predictability and budget planning around those actions.
Goal 2 focuses primarily on student wellness and interventions and mental health supports. And so when you're looking at this, you will notice that the elementary intervention specialist staffing, as we know, has been reduced. But at the same time, we did increase the secondary costs on that first action 2.1 because we weren't fully capturing the cost of the intervention that was happening at the secondary level. So we wanted to make sure all of those costs were captured in LCAP. Additionally, you will notice that there's a shift in the district social workers, and now they will be funded, instead of 4 positions, it'll be 1.6, but all positions are remaining because grants were able to cover the remaining balance of those costs. And something else you'll notice is that it had been the mariachi program, and now it's more expanding to the world music program that happens on Thursday nights at PMS. And we're moving into that action the STEP class that was previously delineated in a different action item. And then we're going to continue with Goal 2, Action 2.8, the one that was previously targeted just for the African American Family Network and other related activities, is now expanded into targeted community and tutoring support, given the shift in our differentiated assistance. Given that this will now serve a broader student group, the funding allotted to that line item has also been increased accordingly. And you'll also notice we added the Action Youth and Family Liaison. It was previously a grant-funded position. They work specifically with our unhoused youth. And we are also adding a scheduling platform that was used at the high schools last year as a pilot to better
allow our students to access the correct interventions during flex period, both self-selected and by the teacher selected, and to better manage attendance and whatnot during all of those periods. And we're adding that to a middle school as well. And then we have moved the cost of the social emotional curriculum into this as well, because not all of the elementary curriculum was covered under the previous grant, so we're absorbing that into the LCAP, and we'll pilot something at one of the middle schools.
No changes to Goal 3. These are positions that are coordinated through our CSACE funding that is separate from LCAP.
All right, Goal 4 focuses on building our staff capacity. Changes include, you'll notice there was the reduction to the integration specialists through the budget process, so that's down to 2.0. High quality professional development has a significant increase of cost because we noticed that the actual amount that was, we wanted to make it reflect the actual cost that was captured this year, as well as rolling in Action 4.5, which was also a professional learning opportunity into that. So that way all of that professional learning is in one space. That also supports our fiscal department in more accurately tracking the costs. And finally, we're also moving in the cost of the teacher, new teacher induction program that ACO, the Alameda County Office of Ed, provides support for our new teachers, the mentoring, the classes and whatnot to help them clear their credential. And we know high quality teaching comes from those credentialed teachers, and any support we do will improve the instruction in our classrooms.
Thank you for the extra time. We're almost done. So we have Goal 5, and so there's one change. We have a decrease in the dollar amount that we're going to allocate to parent liaisons, and that's due to their reduced work days on the calendar for 26-27. And then we are bringing back translation and interpretation services. So that ends our goals, and then I'm going to turn it back to Debbie to talk about the budget. And just a reminder that this annual process about the goals and the budget, that's why we're bringing it, because the board does have to approve the LCAP plan as it's aligned with our regular budget. So I forgot to say that earlier. LCAP will align with the presentation that Mr. Sheikh al-Islami will present.
So this is just a very high-level look at the budget for the LCAP. In general, you'll notice the numbers. We have a couple of numbers that were corrected from what was published initially. So it provides a side-by-side comparison to last year's or this current year's LCAP to next year's LCAP. We've had a slight increase in our unduplicated student count. So even though overall enrollment's going a little bit lower, the number of students that are either English learners or more specifically socioeconomically disadvantaged has increased. So we're getting a slightly higher amount. And you notice that we have obviously driven all of those activities to be supporting our unduplicated students to make sure we are meeting our goals of supporting them. The beginning of the LCAP, the first 3 pages are known as the budget overview for parents. It's supposed to be an at-a-glance look of these nice big charts to make it easy to understand the budget and how it fits into the bigger picture of the district LCFF funding. And you'll notice that the total amount allocated for unduplicated students in the LCAP is projected to be $5,331,847. And then following this public hearing, the plan, we still have a few more updates. We're still getting information from the county. There's usually a few minor edits between now and we present it to the for the final approval. We'll make sure we note what those any of those changes may be. And we'll see you on the 25th.
Okay, thank you. Questions, trustees?
I just have 2. First off, I appreciate the increased stability towards credit recovery, and having that working. So my question was just for our middle and high school, mainly high school, where do we see the biggest need or the most common use of credit recovery?
Director Pereira is not here right now, so she oversees our credit recovery program. It is a mixed bag. We really focus our efforts on in the school year credit recovery rather than summer programs. So if a student's struggling in Algebra 1 their freshman year and they struggle semester 1, the past practice was to wait till summer, and likely they will struggle semester 2. So we intervene immediately, and we start the credit recovery process every quarter. So we launch students into that. So it's a mixed bag in terms of the courses. We see most of the struggle happening during those sophomore and junior years is where we see the majority of the struggle happening. But I don't have the exact data right now, and it's something we could probably provide later in an update.
Yeah, the philosophy is early intervention, so the sooner the better. Saturday Academies is one of the things that I know Director Pereira is doing, and that's been pretty successful. Partially, too, we have a whole attendance recovery program that ties into credit recovery, get kids in. One of the things, too, about attendance is we do capture ADA if we're able to kind of capture those credits back.
Okay, cool. Because I was just curious because like what we've seen at ours was like Algebra 2 and Geometry tended to be a big one, so I was just kind of curious if it was similar here. Okay, my next question is when it comes to the translation and interpretation ones, what's the average turnaround like if you want to print materials or receive something?
We use a few different services. We've evolved that. So a couple years ago, we were only using a single service provider. The turnaround was slow, as all human, done by human hands, and is very expensive. So as part of the budget reductions, we've been screening about 3 different vendors right now. So it depends what the request is and what the language is. So we have some in-person translators for specific parent meetings. And those requests, that turnaround time is usually a week in advance. We have an in-person translator for meetings. Document translation services, depending on the scope of them and have they been translated before, is usually a couple days. And then we have a couple very good AI language translation platforms that are done by vendors that specialize in language translations, and those are almost instantaneous and super low cost. So we've cut those costs down by about half over the last 2 years from what we were spending before.
Yeah, we have a really good company that we work with. It's real time. They answer. They're very reliable for those parent meetings, and sometimes even if somebody cancels, we can call, I forget the, is it Hannah? Hannah interpreters, and it's really a good service. I've experienced it myself firsthand, and it's a really good service.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, you're done. Okay. For the Action 2.8, what specific strategies do you use, the outreach strategies, to engage families from those targeted student groups?
So currently what we did this year, it was targeted specifically for our African American Family Network, and so we supported the activities just of those parent groups. What we will now be working directly with site administrators as well as student services, which we already had been doing, to see what the needs of some of the other targeted student groups that will be happening in terms of the community outreach. For example, some of the things that we did were some parent workshops with the African American Family Network. So now could we take that and look at the broader needs of the additional parent groups and add that for a broader audience? So I expect those are the things that we'll work in partnership with student services as well as site administrators to determine the needs and make those plans moving forward. In terms of the tutoring support that's specifically delineated, one thing we did to target our African American student groups was on Thursday nights when they had the STEP class. We offered an hour of academic support with credentialed teachers providing that. I saw a lot of high school math tutoring going on during those hours. And so what we'll look to do is, because that happened during the second semester, we've learned a lot about how to implement that. So I expect that we will implement that sooner in the year, try to bring an elementary teacher to support with some of the early education, and expand that to additional student groups, continue to specifically invite our African American and Black students, but also make sure we're reach out to our unhoused youth as well as additional and duplicated students. So that's the first steps that I know we'll take.
Ms. Neighbors, are we going to continue the online tutoring
also
program,
have
24/7 services.
We also have the online tutoring that's going on, and it will continue because of how long that contract was. We got them to extend it through most of next year for our African American and Black students, and we'll gather some feedback from the families that are using that to see if it's an effective tool, and if it is, then we'll look to expand that to a broader student group.
And then just one more question on 2.9, the supporting the African American and Hispanic students. So it's individualized by the school, it's in the school site plan. Explain, give me that. Is it?
Sure, that actually is part of our CSACE plan. So the funds for 2.9, that's not a contributing action in the LCAP. It's not using LCFF funds, it's using CSACE funds. So the work we've already been doing, that's where we're ensuring that those student groups are being targeted on the on-campus tutoring.
It's in alignment with the CSACE.
It's in alignment with CSACE. It's that kind of braiding of funds that we've talked about.
Okay.
And that'll be continuing.
Awesome, thank you.
If you could go to the slide before for 2.1. So I know I asked this in the Q&A, but I think it's important enough to reiterate for those who might not have had an opportunity to see that. I wanted to ask if you could reiterate why or how, what's the support provided for the staffing changes and how that impacts the LCAP goals. So I did ask it ahead of time, and so I know staff responded, but I think it's important to kind of recap what was stated so that for those who are sitting here in the audience can kind of really understand what that looks like, because there have been some questions in the past of when the LCAP has reductions in force for certain positions, how does that actually impact those initial LCAP goals?
So the goals and the strategies remain the same. So even though the FTE, so looking at 2.1 specifically, so even though the FTE is reduced of those positions, the percentage of LCAP funds that is supporting those roles increases at the same time. So for example, a secondary intervention specialist, the LCAP was only funding about 4% of their role, and the general fund was paying the other 90-something percent. And so as those reductions happened, we were able to increase those funding to more align with the percentage of our unduplicated students. So for example, we're looking at 14 to 20% of unduplicated student. More than that are being served by our intervention specialists, so increasing the percentage of funds for those roles in supporting our unduplicated students is how that balance plays out. Is that anything to add?
I would also just say that this is another one of those instances where we try to braid funds, so you can see that at an elementary level, CSACE funds provides some support for that intervention specialist to ensure students are getting as much intervention as our budget allows. And I would say the same thing with the district social workers. I know you referenced 2.1, but the social workers, we were able to, thanks to the work of our student services department, we're able to secure a grant so that way we could continue funding those positions.
Okay, thank you. So the reason why I was asking to have it called out is that in essence the goals stay the same. Even though the funding might be impacted, then that is absorbed, for example, through CSIS or the general fund, or in other ways working collectively, collaboratively to help ensure that the goals are not impacted, correct?
That's exactly correct, President McCoshie. Behind the scenes, going through all the grant applications, where can we find other revenue? We always kept in mind the LCAP staffing and the reductions, and all of that kind of comes into play. And then where it lands is, something like the social workers. It's braided in a sense that we have 1.2 coming from LCAP. We have that viability grant, but it addresses the goal. That's the key, is are we still addressing the goal for the targeted students? And we feel yes.
And if I recall right, that there is a section in the LCAP where it also talks about impact or reflections of certain goals. There's always an opportunity to monitor progress of the goals. So in other words, if there's a reason why a particular goal was not necessarily reached or how it was impacted, it's a living document, correct? I'm just
yes, absolutely.
Clarify that
Absolutely
for those who
correct.
may not be aware.
Yeah.
The LCAP is an annual process, so it's a continual. Maybe you could expand.
Yeah,
on
it's a
that.
3-year plan, like I said earlier, but it is it's a very fluid document. We meet monthly at least. We have this year, and we talk about the goals. Are we achieving them? We monitor those, and we have every opportunity to correct it, to change it, to modify it, depending on whether or not we feel we're addressing those goals. And actually, I believe, Ms. Neighbors, did we do that this year? Did we adjust mid-year?
Well, what we did is that we had the LCAC, like they actually looked at the metrics that we have. Metrics are the data. And they looked at every action and say, based on those metrics, how effective do we think these actions are? And what are the ones that we think we need to keep? What are ones that may need some adjustment, and which ones just aren't effective at all? And then we merged that information with the budget discussions, not only of general fund, but also this LCAP is, for that phrase we're using of braiding, is also integrates Title I, all the title monies that we get. Title I, that serves our socioeconomically disadvantaged, our Title III, that serves our English learners. So we're really trying to leverage these dollars. And yes, it is an ongoing plan that continues to change depending on what the needs are. Action 2.8 saw some of those actions changing mid-year to try new things to implement that action.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. So at this time, we're going to open this item for the public hearing. This is the first hearing. So at this time, if there's anyone that would like to come speak on this particular item, this would be the time to do so. If you've not had time to fill out a comment card, you're more than welcome to come up to the podium and fill out the comment card afterwards. Do we have any people who filled out a card in advance? Okay, seeing none, the public comment has officially been closed. We're going to bring it back to the board for any concluding comments before we go on to the next agenda item. Okay, so seeing none, thank you very much for the presentations. Thank you once again. We look forward to seeing this in 2 weeks for the second hearing.
Thank you very much.
What? Yes, you can say something. You want to say something? Do you want to say something? Sorry. If we could have Josh, if you could just stop for a minute. Trustee Walker would like to say something, so if you could just stay up.
Since this is your last presentation, Josh, I just wanted to give a few words of, I've worked a lot of years with Josh at Amador, and then, now as director of curriculum, and me as a school board trustee. And I just want to say, you have fostered such a great culture here at PUSD. Your insight, your deep knowledge of curriculum and instruction, and your unwavering focus on student outcomes were invaluable. PUSD is going to miss you greatly. I will miss you greatly. You're a very trusted, respected educational leader, and it bears repeating. You really are a rare gem. I will miss you, and so will all your colleagues here at PUSD. So good luck. Castro Valley is very lucky to have you.
Thank you very much, Lori. You're one example of why I loved working here, and I've really enjoyed almost 2 decades. And it's Pleasanton's a special place, and it's not anything I've done. Like, it's just the people. There's a lot of people in the audience that I've worked with in different capacities, friendships that I've formed, friendships as parents, friendships as colleagues, and it's been pretty special. It's an emotional thing to leave this place. I'm excited about my new adventure. But Pleasanton is really a special place, and I have the utmost respect for everybody I work with here. And just the amount of people that put so much effort to helping kids every day is pretty amazing. And as much time as anybody could spend at any of our schools to see that happening in the classrooms, at recess, at the crosswalks, do it, because education's a hard thing. It's hard to take every student as they come from where they're at and work hard to help them grow. And we have thousands of people in this community that are doing that every day. So I just want to extend my appreciation to all those folks and say thank you for my time here.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the next item is the first public hearing. And this will also come back in 2 weeks. Routine in nature. This comes every June. This is a public hearing for the 2026-2027 annual budget. You have 15 minutes for the presentation. I'm passing it off to Ahmad Chico-Salami.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm excited to present our budget for 26-27. I'll be joined also with our fiscal expert, Kate Lane, who's virtually available, and she'll assist me and answer some questions for the board as well. So before I begin, I wanted to let you know that building the budget really takes an entire organization, and this budget really, the entire PUSD organization leaned into it. We worked department by department with directors and coordinators, and then heavy lift by the fiscal department. And then we also were fortunate enough in this current circumstances to have the expertise of Kate Lane and pulling it together. So I just wanted to acknowledge everyone's work in putting this significant document together. We'll be going through a lot of data and a lot of information, and my job will be to kind of highlight some of the key points. We've tried to, both in the presentation and in the report, and also you have all of the detailed SACS forms available to try to simplify a budget that's over $200 million in the general fund and hundreds of millions of dollars in our other funds as well. So the good news is the district with this budget will meet the 26-27 and the following 2 fiscal years the minimum 3% reserve. And so that is a significant turnaround, and is only possible by both the actions of the district and the board in making needed and necessary reductions and adjustments to the budget, but also we also have benefited by new state revenues that are available to us. And so that combination of new state funding and the actions have turned around what would be a negative ending fund balance for 25-26 to a positive about $500,000 in 26-27, and it also is providing the district a growing reserve balance of about $2 million ongoing. Now, we have been able to also strengthen the budget by removing a lot of one-time sources that were part of the prior budget and replace them with ongoing revenues, and so that's another positive step. Unfortunately, rising costs in terms of salaries, health benefits, inflationary pressures in terms of operational costs have neutralized some of the gains that we've seen, and it limits our ability and our capacity to restore and or provide increased compensation. And so there is those headwinds that we also face. There are significant structural improvements, and we're going to go into that. And then, in terms of the state budget, it's not finalized, and there are different differences between the legislative office and the governors. But we do eventually they're going to work it out, and we should have a budget that will be finalized by the end of June. So when we develop a budget, there's a lot of information that goes into it, and one of the most principal and most important pieces is staffing. It's a staffing and benefit costs around 85%. So we spend most of our times ensuring that we have those dialed in. And so part of that process is to, you look at step and column, those costs are increasing, you look at your benefits and pension costs, you're looking at all of the material supplies, utilities, insurance, and ensuring that you have everything dialed into the budget. We spend a significant amount of time with special education because that's a very large portion of our budget. And so that's the base that we're working with. And in PUSD, because we're declining enrollment, our revenues are decreasing. And so you'll see in the future slides that even though we're getting a 4% increase in the LCFF formula, that doesn't translate to an equivalent amount for PUSD. Again, we're very much beholden to the state. The state usually finishes their budget late, and so we're trying to make the best assumptions into our budget. And that's the primary driver of new funding. And then the state does come up with new programs and one-time dollars that we also have to factor in. We need to be really careful and not to use one-time dollars for ongoing expenses. And the tools that we have to balance our budget are very limited, and some of them are time-consuming. So any type of reductions need to occur months before we get to the point of putting the budget together. You don't get to the end and say, well, what am I going to reduce, right? Because when 85% is based on staffing and benefits. This next slide, I'm going to ask Kate to speak to it a little bit, but before I turn it over, the adjustments that we made are significant, and it builds both this structural resilience and improvement in the budget, and it addresses a lot of the concerns and items that were raised by the FCMAT study. So one of the principal ones was the replacing one-time revenue sources with ongoing. That was huge. And then the deep work that we did to ensure that the budget is developed with resiliency and accuracy. And so with that, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Kate. So I know you were heavily involved and you worked closely with our staff to put those numbers together. So I just thought you would be the best person to kind of review some of those improvements and resiliencies that we built in.
Very good. Good evening, President Mukashi, members of the board, Superintendent Geisels. So much has changed in this budget. I feel that the budget before you for this public hearing is a far more resilient budget. I was very impressed with the collaboration that occurred in building the budget and the knowledge of the budget that each of your leaders showed. And so the more people with their eyes on the budget, the more chance you have of having a far more accurate budget that actually meets your needs and is designed to provide the services that your leadership is expecting to be able to provide. I'd like to especially thank your Human Resources Department. There was a massive amount of work with the changes that have happened at the district to ensure that indeed we did have the positions that the district has available, that we included them all in the budget. And in addition to the positional salaries, that the budget adequately reflected your needs for substitutes and for hourly personnel and for overtime in those cases where you just simply cannot escape that. And that's very often with your custodial and maintenance teams as your leasing facility. So we wanted to ensure that the budget included all of those costs and that you accurately project the potential cost of benefits associated with that. So I feel very confident in the methodology used to build the budget. And I feel mostly as Mr. And I will unfortunately probably do injustice by your last name. So I'm just going to say Ahmad. As he said, you have done a very good job of replacing one-time revenues with ongoing revenues. So while your budget does not show as great an increase as I'm sure many were expecting with the extraordinarily good news in the governor's budget for schools this year, if you look more closely at your revenue sources, you'll see that the increase in your LCFF revenues, which are ongoing revenues, really replaces a reduction in your local revenues, and the local revenues in the unrestricted general fund were at least 50% of those were the result of one-time shifts and or corrections. So it's a far more stable budget for you to therefore be able to plan effectively going forward. And from my perspective, that stability in a budget allows your educational leadership to effectively plan their programming. Volatility is not helpful to student programming. outside of that, you do have some ongoing money. It's not a lot. And so the district will, I believe, be faced with some very tough decisions because there are likely more needs than there is money to be able to afford all of those needs. So the district will likely have to go through another prioritization process to ensure that whatever you do put in place is sustainable over the long term.
Great, thank you, Kate. So going into some of the details in the budget, this slide kind of shows the high level, both the restricted and unrestricted for 26-27 in terms of the overall revenues and the expenditures and the transfers in of funding, and that's mainly from both our lease and our Kids Club program, that money that comes in, and then our contributions. And then the good news, again, we are ending in a positive territory in our unrestricted, and then we also see a significant increase in the restricted, and that is because we've included the one-time monies, but we have not allocated or expended that because it's not finalized at the state level, and we'll go into some of those details. This is a critical slide because it outlines all of our assumptions in the budget, and you'll see that the state in its May revise and what the hopefully be approved by the legislature and the governor will include a 2.87 statutory COLA and what is now called an additional 1.44% additional investment, and so that comes out to that 4.3. That allocation, that increase is to the formula, and so those per student numbers increased by that 4.31%, but because Pleasanton is declining enrollment, the net impact from the prior year for us is about a 1.87% increase. And you can see the similar trend continuing. We have a 3.3 and a 3 in the out years, but then it's a less than it's about a 1% and then under 1% in 28-29. And so that gets that really impacts us, and we need to continue to right size as the years go on because we have less money and less students, and so we'll have to be mindful of that. The other thing is that the additional investment is to fund a new cost. There's a requirement for 14 weeks of pregnancy leave, and that is, again, is a positive thing, but we have to factor that into the cost. And then the state also allocated and acknowledged rising costs to school districts with that additional investment as well. This is the trend. This is our trend. We are declining enrollment, and it has been going on and is projected. At some point, we will flatten out and hopefully start to increase, but not for the foreseeable future. In the next few slides, you're going to see a lot of detail. I wanted to be very clear on the assumptions that have gone to build the budget. Again, we talked about the COLA. There's also new ongoing special education money for our district. It's about $5 million of new money. But last year, we used all our one-time money to pay for rising costs in special education. So those kind of offset each other. We have new dollars in ELOP. The Learning Recovery Block Grant will continue. That's mainly helping pay for our recovery, credit recovery programs, in addition with the LCAP dollars. The significant one-time monies, the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant, is in the restricted side. It has not been allocated or expensed until it's approved by the budget, and we will talk about some options for that. The district did receive new restricted apprenticeship monies, and so that's in the budget. Federal dollars remain flat, and that's really less than 2% of our total funding. And then we talked about in 25-26, we have about $2 million in the budget for our OPEB. That's one-time money that we're drawing down that trust fund, and so that's going to get removed and replaced with ongoing money. New increased donations from PPIE, We also made some other adjustments in the budget related to a little bit less in terms of our transfer in, mainly related to some of the adjustments that will be occurring with our lease with our tenants here. Continuing, again, there's lots of background and information on the expenditure side, but we do obviously include the step and column, the pregnancy leave. That's about $500,000 to $600,000 increase in our budget, and so we have to factor that into it. We also made adjustments to our vacancy assumptions. Many of our incoming staff do have experience, and so we adjusted to mid-career level and also the medical options that now we offer. We've also seen increased costs with our other post-employment benefits due to increased retirements and the return of the APT retirement incentive, and so we factored those in it. The books and supplies budget remains flat, but you'll see an increase of $2 million specifically for book adoptions that will be paid from committed funds. And then again, we've seen increases in property and liability, and again, increases in utilities due to water rates increasing as well as electricity. And then the multi-year, these are aligned with some of those inflationary pressures of cost increasing on services, books and supplies, and special education. We also remove any type of revenues that are one-time and grants. We remove both the revenue and then the expenditure in the out years as well. We continue increasing costs with the step and column movement, but we also then factor in reductions in staffing related to enrollment, but only kind of that segment that has been factored into it. We haven't gone into any additional reductions beyond adjusting to enrollment. This is basically the breakdown of our LCFF funding, and you can see that $5,331,000 that we were just discussing on the LCAP. That is a small portion, but an important portion of the overall LCAP. Additionally, not every segment of the LCAP got the augmented COLA. Transportation just got the statutory and a few other pieces. And then the economic recovery target gets no COLA. And so that's special to Pleasanton and school districts that received less in the LCFF formula than they did under the old formula. This is kind of a breakdown of our total revenue, about $230 million. You'll see that the 23% is much larger this year due to the significant one-time grant. The main point on the expenditure is that 85% is on personnel, and so that really limits our flexibility. The good news is that we're in positive territory both in our unrestricted and restricted net increase to the budget, and so you'll see that reflected in a few slides that we're going to review. Again, people always wonder, what are all those restricted dollars and why can't we access them for other things? Well, they're very specific to programs, right? And they have to be spent and they're audited. And so we have many programs that have multi-year spending plans, and so you can see the details of them. And obviously the new one that's significant is the new block grant that has not yet been allocated for expenditure or allocation. This is, again, a very important slide which shows our recovery. The 3% minimum is up here that the district needs to maintain. In the current year, we have deficit spend, and we have a negative ending fund balance. We do have funds that's set aside in the stabilization fund that can only be used to kind of for one-time purpose with the approval of the state, so they're kind of locked into this stabilization fund. But if the district is above a negative, we will meet that 3%. This year we're not, so we're not going to meet the 3%. Next year, a significant turnaround and improvement will allow us to be in positive territory and be above the 3%. And going forward, increase in the ending fund balance shows that our reserves will go up. And this is absent of any one-time money. And so that is the reason why there's availability of ongoing money for the district. Some information, average unified school district has about 24% reserve, and reserves allow districts to weather economic downturns, handle emergencies, and manage the month-to-month cash flow needs. This is where we have been, and this is why this budget is such a significant turnaround, is the district has had a structural deficit and has been eating away at its unrestricted reserves, and to a point where there is no more reserves, right? And so now we're able to, with this budget and the future, rebuild our reserves, get us to a place that our finances are much more stable. The next slides, and I'm not going to go into every detail, I'm sure you have looked at it, but I wanted to clearly lay out the changes from 25, 26 to what we are proposing in this budget. And so we can see the increase in LCFF, but we can see that there was a decrease in local revenues from one-time sources. We can see we've made reductions in certain areas of the budget, but other areas such as books and supplies have gone up because we had a book adoption and we're using committed dollars. Similarly, on the restricted side, the main driver of the new dollars is we lost some one-time money, we gained new one-time money, and we received ongoing SPED dollars. And so that's all captured in here. There were significant reductions we made, and special ed was able to tighten up their budget, and that's reflected here. The donations are accounted for as we receive them, so that number will increase through the year, and as will our expenditures in some of those categories. The general fund contribution to special education has been reduced because of both the revenues and the reductions, and then we've made some other adjustments to the transfer in, and we're utilizing those committed dollars for specific areas that the board had allocated those funds to. This chart shows the adjustments from the third interim. So the third interim was our best view of what we knew at that time without the May revise. The May revise came out. We received the increase in the COLA, so you see the increase in LCFF. We pulled out the use of one-time dollars because we no longer needed them, and so you can see the net increase. And then due to both where the district landed in terms of what it needed in staffing and also some of the new requirements, there's adjustments to the expenditure side as well. And so we've locked those numbers in, and those are reflected. And so this is significant improvement from the estimated actuals from a negative 1.5 unappropriated fund balance to a positive $2 million now. Okay, so now I know I've gone over a little bit, and I'm trying to be as fast. We probably should have put a little bit more time to this presentation. But the $2 million, we wanted to demonstrate how that ongoing money can be expended. And these are they're not exclusive. There can be combinations, of it, but the district can restore positions, and that's an ongoing expenditure. It can also set aside and continue to hold on to the dollars and not spend them for other type of expenditures, including potential compensation increases. And we wanted to indicate that the cost of 1% for all units is about $1.6 to $1.7 million. And so you can't do everything with these dollars, but they at least can do some to address some of the various needs the district will be facing now and in the coming months. And so, again, the board also can consider further strengthening of the district finances with these dollars as well. The next slide kind of outlines If we do get this money, and we are going to get some one-time money, we just don't know the exact amount and the nature of it, but once that gets finalized, if it is based on the May revise, the first thing the district really needs to do is to plug that negative balance. Because if they don't plug the negative balance with the one-time monies, it's the ongoing monies that's plugging it, right? And that ongoing money won't be available. So this is a critical first step with the one-time money. The board has discussed a desire to increase our reserves beyond what the committed funds can have. And it is important to do that because this reserve would be flexible and the district could go into it and out of it as it needs to, while the stabilization fund, we can't touch it. It's like, you know, it's like a 401k that you can't touch unless you're in particular situations. So that's something to consider. The district is in need of a really critical curriculum and book adoptions, that we met with the team and outlined what their needs are in the next several years, and so we need to continue setting funds aside to ensure that we have the right books and curriculum out for our students and staff. And the board can also then look at other one-time or period-defined expenditures as well. But anything that gets done should be done in a one-time or period-defined nature with these dollars and not on an ongoing basis. Cash flow needs to be looked at. We will continue monitoring it. We do have some resolutions and stuff that will be coming to the board to continue to allow us to do interfund and borrowing from the county treasury. That is just the nature of PUSD and the way our funding comes in from our property taxes. The district has other funds it manages, and the adult education, child development, the cafeteria, the food services, the preschool program, and significant number of capital funds as well. They're all in good standing. They're being managed very diligently by their managers, and I can say that they're all in good status for the coming year. So, in conclusion, the district's very deliberate and disciplined actions and significant ongoing state revenues has resulted in an improved and stable fiscal outlook. We need to continue being mindful of spending and fiscal pressures as enrollment is projected to decline and we still are facing inflationary pressures. The state budgets will be finalized by the end of June. Hopefully, by the time we come back on the 25th, we have greater clarity. Additional expenditures and allocations at this point beyond, before the budget is finalized is not advisable. It's, we got to really make sure that the state is going to come through with the dollars. And we will be bringing back this budget on the 25th for your final approval. Thank you.
Questions? Trustee Walker first, then Johnson.
Okay, for that additional 1.44%, do you have like a dollar amount what that is?
Yes, that's about $2 million, and you can see it at the third interim. We had estimated that based on the 2.87% COLA, and then with the adopted budget, it includes the 1.44%.
Okay, and then you said that in that 1.44, we're going to use that to offset the 14 weeks of paid pregnancy leave, and you said that was between 500 and 600,000. Is that correct?
Correct. The state said we're giving you more money, and that's one of their new requirements. It's a new requirement they have, and for rising costs. And so for our district, we've estimated that cost to be close to $600,000.
Okay, and so what other rising costs would be what's included in that? Give me examples.
Yeah, rising costs, for example, its insurance has gone up by 10%. Our workers' comp has gone up. Our utilities. So the state recognized that districts are facing increased costs throughout their budget and provided an additional COLA.
And then I had a question on the books and supplies. Can you just go over that? We expended 1.9, is that correct, for 25-26 in our estimated actuals, and then for 26-27, it's explain that, because we have $2 million set aside, right, in our committed funds.
Sure. So in the third interim, you'll see that we had estimated the books and supplies to be unrestricted to be about $2.16 million. Yep. In the adopted budget, it's gone up to 4.1. Well, that includes it includes buying the book adoption, paying for $2 million of the book adoption. So it's on the expenditure side of it now. But the monies will come from the committed. So once you take the $2 million, our books and supplies remain flat.
Okay, got it. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, I think most of mine are probably going to be around slide 27 on the the one-time funding. So on
it's the other way around.
There we go. No, one more, I think. Yes. All right. So under the one-time period of defined, like set-aside funds, my question was, are there any bills, loans, or other things that we could use part of that funding on to help increase the amount of money that we are getting in the general fund?
Can you state that question a little? I did not.
Yeah. So, for example, is there, for example, we're still paying off this location. And so because we're paying part of that off still, we don't get the full amount. So like, are there things like that where if we use part of this one-time fund towards it, it would lead to a permanent gain in the our general fund? Ongoing funding.
Yeah, no, I understand the question. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, the district could look at that. For example, on this lease, it's about $5 million that remain on that. And so if we paid that off, then the tenants, the income from the tenant would increase about $200,000. So we'd have to look at where it would be advantageous to the district to do that and where it would be advantageous to look at current needs.
Yeah, that was one. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, there might, for example, I think when we were looking at the book adoptions, the more, you pay up front, then the less, you pay in the out years. And so there's some benefits like that when you do book adoptions as well.
Yeah, which actually led into my next question, which is what are our next two book adoptions? Is it math at the elementary level? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to look at our team. I was just looking at that document. If you guys,
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
In the next couple of years, yeah, we would be doing math when the adoption comes, or the full framework comes out and we have those materials, but it'd be flip-flop, the math for primary grades and ELA for upper grades.
Okay, cool. And so and we're thinking that the $4 million or so that you have up there as potential one-time would cover or be able to cover those two adoptions?
Yes, I think when we met, we were looking at potentially needing close to $6 million, but this would go a long ways, and then we couple this with the annual lottery dollars. We receive about $1 million of restricted lottery dollars those two combinations would hopefully get us there.
Okay, and so then that would help us in the ongoing then, because
Yes.
we don't have to budget that, so that could actually potentially go up some.
Correct. The bridging, right now we're paying significant cost to bridge every year, and so those would go away for at least 7 years.
Yeah, that'll really catch us up. Trustee Jones, just talking with Mr. Schrag and Mr. Butterfield, it's that $6 million figure that we're looking at to catch us up and then save for future. So it's math, ELA, as Mr. Schrag said, but it's all the supplemental adoptions too.
All right, cool. So this will help us with improving our ongoing funding in the future. All right, my next one is, so come first interim, then when we file for that, we will be fully back to positive.
based on our current plan, we stay within this. I'm confident we'll be back to positive territory.
All right. So, and then that will. We do have a good credit score, but that will start to go towards also improving our credit score for our bonds and our projects and that as well, right?
Correct. So we will be up to sell the final bond next spring. And so with this, we will go back to, they update our ratings, and so we'll be in a position to say, oh, we have made these improvements, and so they will hopefully change our outlook, and that will then have an impact on our interest rate that we borrow and help the community pay back those loans faster.
All right, so this is great news on that end as well. All right, and so my next, I have two more. I was curious, so while we still have our support from the county, I was just wondering will the recommended county improvements be in place and fully operational before Kate Lane leaves with the positive certification?
So, I mean, I'll talk, and then Kate, you can follow up. We've made significant improvements to a lot of the recommendations, and we'll be this summer kind of documenting them and memorializing them. There are some more systems we'd like to implement and get the staff to trained on, but I believe we are headed in a positive direction with what we have done and the work we need to do. Kate, if you want to add anything.
No, I would completely concur. The district is absolutely moving in the right direction. We've identified some systems improvements to put in place, and perhaps some realignment of some work. And I feel very confident that the district is going to be able to move forward with that.
Okay, thank you. And then I saw it was kind of wild on the Senate bill side, the potentially, which I doubt, but the $1 billion towards kitchen and that type of operations, which would be great, just unexpected. Would we be able to use that money if we did end up getting it to because I know we have, for example, kitchen improvements and things like that in the bond. So will we be able to use that money towards that and then be able to change the bond funding towards other projects potentially?
So, a good question. So we've been able to take advantage of the state kitchen funds that they usually put about $100 million towards that. So we've taken advantage of that. We've taken advantage of some of the reserves that we've been able to build up in our food service fund to do more, so that a lot of the kitchen improvements are actually being funded from those sources. But we do have some bond-related future kitchen improvement plans, and so we would definitely take advantage of any new state programs.
Okay. And then my last one is probably just procedure-wise, is because this was brought up as a public forum and discussion, if we did want to take any next steps, that would be at the end of the meeting, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So just for clarification, this is a public hearing for the annual budget for 2026, 2027. I know there was a previous discussion in the last board meeting in terms of rescinding positions. Because those actually come through resolutions, that request should be formally asked at the end of this board meeting, and then those items can be put on at the next meeting.
All right, so we'll do, okay, so at the end of the meeting, and then we can discuss on the 25th. All right, thank you. I appreciate all of you helping me answer my questions. I know some of you had to come up, but I appreciate it.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. Can you move to the slide right before that? So my question is related to for the estimated ongoing revenues for $2 million. $2 million. Here's my question. As already stated through this presentation, positive certification anticipated by December. Is that based upon the assumption if there was an opportunity to rescind some, like a bulk of these positions, plus accommodating compensation, ongoing moving forward,
for our labor partners, would we still be in positive certification?
Two things need to happen for that to occur. One, we need to receive the one-time dollars. We need to use the $2.5 million to restore our negative ending fund balance. Once we've done that, then we will be in a situation that as long as we don't spend more than $2 million, we'll continue being in a positive certification going for the current and the next 2 years. So both things need to occur. If, for example, the state, I don't know, just they said, you know what, we're not going to give you any one-time money, no, we wouldn't be able to do that, because currently in the current budget, that negative that we're in is being plugged by ongoing monies, and that's why you see in this this document here in the MYP, next year we're only going to be above the unappropriated above ending fund balance is only 470. Why? Because we've used ongoing monies to plug it in, and you don't see the actual new ongoing monies until 27, 28. So in order for the district to be able to access those new ongoing dollars, we need the one-time monies, and it needs to plug our negative.
Okay. So my next question, if you go to the 2026-2027 budget assumptions, please. Mathematically, how did you come up with the net impact on LCFF going from the 1.87 in terms of, if I'm correct, in the presentation, you're saying that even though the COLA is 4.31%, because of downward enrollment, that effect is significantly lower. So can you give some clarification on that?
Sure. So I'm gonna take you to another slide that basically shows the change between the years. If you look at the change from the prior year, which is our 25-26 estimated actuals, it grew that through that $3 million only represents, that's the 1.87, is that growth. If it grew by 4%, it would have been a lot more money, right? But because of the declining enrollment, we're not getting, and then not all parts of LCFF got the 4.31, but because of that combination, but mainly because of enrollment, that 3% is representing that, the 1.87%.
Okay, thank you. Can you go back to the one-time funding page, please? Can you explain a little bit further, for the benefit of the public, what are some of the economic uncertainty challenges that our district and or the state is having to contend with right now? Because that's a really loaded phrase. But breaking that down, what does that really refer to?
So economic uncertainty, there's local uncertainty, right? Within, and any year there are things that you can plan for, and then there are things that you cannot plan for. And so sometimes within your own local issues, you need to be ready for those things that you didn't plan for and will cost you more. I can give an example. It could be 2 special ed students that are very high needs and came in at the middle of the year, and you didn't plan for them, right? So you have those type of things that can happen. In terms of the state's budget is based on a revenue source that is not stable. It's based on the wealthiest 1%. It's based on capital gains, and so there's a lot of fluctuations given our current economic situations. And so there can be a year that the state pulls back on revenues just because of where the stock market, where the economy, and where our wealthiest are. If that happens, the state may be in a situation that it may not be able to fully fund its commitments, and then they can pull back monies and say, instead of the COLA, we're going to give you a less COLA, and so those type of things happen, and then our district will have to adjust with it. And so if you don't have any local ability to adjust, then you're going to have to make reductions.
So, for example, the impact of the war, and it's my understanding, reading some information related to the state projecting out potential revenues with artificial intelligence, but some of the review and critiques has stated that's been very robust and perhaps inflated because it's hard to predict, as an example.
Yeah, I mean, and we've seen it in the past history of California. We've seen the dot-com bust. We've seen the Great Recession. And so those type of things will have, any type of significant economic changes will have significant...
Increased gas prices.
This is an interesting situation now, too, because you said it, President McCaughey, in terms of inflation. One is drop in revenue because we're so tied to the business cycle, and capital gains goes down and income taxes go down. We ride that downward wave in the business cycle really quickly. And it's also the unknown and the impact of the war with inflation and the supply chain that touches gas prices and the like. And we're really looking at uncertainty, not like we've seen for the last 40, 50 years, and what we used to call stagflation, both stagnation and inflation. So we don't have a crystal ball, but that's why we have reserves to guard against those uncertainties. And the more buffer we have, the least disruptive things will be for us.
Okay, thank you. Just last question. Why is so much being put aside for curriculum and book adoptions? It's a significant chunk of change for one-time funding, just to further clarify.
So the amount that the state provides us through the lottery dollars is not enough to be able to take care of the needs of the district, right? And so either the district has to, on an annual basis, start putting more aside from the regular general fund, or it has to take advantage of these kind of circumstances, these unique opportunities that come, and to think that these are real costs. If we don't do them, it will cost us more, and our students will not have the books and the latest adoptions, and so we'll be starting to get out of compliance in that areas, and so that's an important obligation that we have.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. Yes, Trustee Jones.
Can you go one? I think it's slide 26, so one back. So the ones that you have here, is that because they add up as close to that number as possible and they're next on the list?
Correct.
Okay, I was curious. Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Opening for public comment. This is the first hearing for the 2026-27 budget for POSD. If there's anyone from the audience that would like to come speak, feel free to come speak first if you've not filled out a card. Lanita, do we have anyone that has submitted a card? Okay, Thomas Choi, come on up, and then you can fill a comment card out afterwards. Thank you.
And student-facing reductions that have already taken place. Because multi-year projections indicate that additional personnel reductions are anticipated, the community wants a clear explanation as to when the administration plans to restore vital roles, particularly given the fact that $11 million has confirmed from the state in the May revise. If our long-term fiscal outlook is positive, it remains unclear as to why a one-time property transaction like the Donlan Elementary School yard sale is actually necessary. Furthermore, clarity is needed regarding the operational rationale for directing maintenance funds towards the district office remodel and most recently the thermostat installation after frontline student positions were eliminated. Specifically, I want to know why $700,000 was sitting idle in the maintenance fund when those resources, if they had never been moved from the general fund, could have been used to not only pay our teachers, but avoid the very painful cuts that we just went through. This management of resources also relates directly to the CESIS funds that we just spoke about. The district has $500,000 in restricted federal CSIS funding that could have been directly utilized to preserve the very student-facing jobs that were actually cut. Given that PUSD staff explicitly stated that it was disruptive to reapply that funding mid-year, we want to know, before this upcoming school year, what is the plan to make use of this funding? Our community and county oversight partners require clear visibility into these maintenance expenditures, the property strategy, and a definitive plan for CSIS restoration. Providing these clear parameters will ensure that financial plan and LCAP fully align with our educational priorities before final approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, if there's anyone else from the audience that would like to come up, this would be the time to do so. Okay, seeing none. Closing the public hearing for this particular item and bringing it back to the board for comments. There is no action tonight.
I do want to do just one last question, just so I can verify. Just for my own clarity, property sales cannot be used for salary, correct?
Correct. Property sales cannot be used for salary. There was a unique opportunity that we utilized the sale of the vineyard property to shore up one-time needs, but that law was very defined and very specific. But on the normal, you cannot utilize the sale of property for ongoing side. They need to be utilized for expenditures in either purchasing another property or improving a property, as well as the district requires a 3% set aside from the general fund into the routine restricted maintenance.
All right, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was correct on that because, again, I've only been here a year and a half. I know it sometimes feels longer, but still new. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for everyone coming out here tonight again, because I know this is a difficult task and it's a difficult community conversation to have. It is great to see that we are going to be back in positive. I cannot stress that enough because there are quite a few districts that are going to be coming out of this still unqualified or in other positions that are not as well off as we are about to be. So I want to thank both staff, board members, everyone who's advocated, who's gone to Sacramento, who has pushed for them to put this funding in when we've seen people like the governor try to take that funding away from Prop 98 funding. So I really do, I appreciate all of you who have participated in getting us the money that we are about to receive, because quite a bit of that was, if you look just 6 months ago, was not looking guaranteed. So this is a very positive movement forward, so allowing us to have these conversations. Because if we were looking before, there was a real fear of having to do more reductions, and now it's now the conversation of, can we potentially restore? Can we look at different things like potentially raises or stipends or other things? And so I think this is very much a positive step. This is us moving towards positive qualification. It's helping to improve our credit score, which is good, but getting it higher. This is us being able to potentially bring back, if we are able to, potentially positions, looking at salaries and stipends. And so this is a much better place to be than we were just 6 months ago. And so I appreciate the community for getting involved and being active and being engaged. And I also appreciate staff, our labor partners, board members, everyone in doing a lot of this work. And for sure, we'll definitely be talking at the end of the meeting about bringing forward a resolution to discuss these things, because I do think that's important. But I wish I could do it now, but I'm more than happy to wait. But I do appreciate that we're actually able to have this conversation now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I concur with your sentiments, Trustee Jones. Positive certification is so refreshing after the negative certification, and I look forward to our meeting on June 25th, and hopefully positive outcomes during that meeting.
So I actually have one more question. Can you go back to the budget assumptions, please? It's slide 9, I believe.
Which one?
No, it's the one where it says 2026, 2027 budget assumptions that has a slide, a table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I meant to ask this earlier. That last bullet says new funds are not enough to cover increased ongoing costs and will require ongoing staffing adjustments and reductions. What is meant by that? And if you're stating that additional reductions may need to be made, there's no dollar amount associated to that. So can you please clarify that?
So yes. So if you look at from 26-27 to 27-28, there's only a 1% increase, and that's the main driver of our new revenues. That's not enough to pay for step and column and other cost increases. And so because we're in declining enrollment, we need to reduce staff. And so we've made assumptions in the budget that we would continue aligning staffing to enrollment. So we look at the enrollment, we look at how many number of students there are, and we use a conservative number of how many fewer staff, and we built it in the budget. And so if you, in the budget report, there's a multi-year kind of document in terms of the budget, and then you'll see there's one line that says step and column, the cost increase for step and column, and then you'll see a line that says staffing adjustments, and so you'll see a reduction there. And so without those reductions, we can't just maintain our staffing levels at the current level because there's not enough money coming in based on the number of students.
Let me ask the question slightly differently. So if you're saying for the 27-28 school year, once again, the board may have to come back and look at reductions. How much money are we talking about? Are we talking about a reduction of $1 million? Like, how much are we short? Like $1 million, 500,000? Like, what's the amount?
So because it's driven by staffing formula in terms of do we have students and do we staff, there's no requirement for the board to come and do the reductions in terms of, because it's based on enrollment, and we every year we work with HR and we work with student services to determine the number of classroom teachers that we need based on our students. Any temp staff are released, and so we can make those adjustments through that process. We've assumed about 8 FTE reduction in 27-28, and I believe in 5 FTE reduction in 28-29 based on the declining enrollment. You can see that.
I'm sorry. You said how much in 27-28 for the staff reduction?
I believe in 27-28, 8, and 28-29, 5.
5 for each year?
8 in 27-28 and 5 in 28-29, and you can see that. You can see we're going to go down from 12,600 students to 12,344, and then we're going to go from 12,344 to another 12,180. So with less students, there'll be less staff, and so that's reflected in the multi-year budget document.
So I think that's really alarming information. So assumption, you're saying an assumption. I mean, obviously we know assumptions are not accurate because there's assumptions that could be changed. But you're saying based upon the data and all the numbers that have been plugged through, was that written in the report and I just missed that, where it talks about those reductions? I just want to make sure that I wasn't missing.
No, it's written in the report.
Where it says specifically 8 and 5.
I don't know if it says 8 and 5. I can't remember that. I have to go back. But it does say that there's staffing reductions to align with enrollment, and you can see the exact number in the MYP. In the MYP, I can show it to you. Let's see.
So I'm looking at this from the perspective as a trustee. 2 years ago, we had to go through reductions. It was a very challenging process. All of us were here for that last February. Then this year we've spent a big chunk of the year going through another reduction process. I guess my bigger question is there a way when we're looking at this current budget that can be circumvented in any way, or you're basically just saying because once again sorry, I'm trying to formulate what my thoughts, but basically because of the structures of the problems that we've had, whether we've been in negative qualification and the financial status that the district has been put in based upon previous decisions, is there any way around that, or we're going to have to do that regardless? Is there anything that can be done to circumvent that?
So this type of reduction is unavoidable. Because when you're declining enrollment, you have to make adjustments to your staffing. You're getting less money because you have less students, and we've been doing this almost every year. The same is true too. If students increasing staffing is unavoidable, right? There are particular class size ratios we need to meet both under our collective bargaining agreement and also under the state requirements of class sizes. So what this budget does, it reflects the reality as you decline in enrollment, you need to reduce staff. If we were increasing, I would have to be doing the same thing. I couldn't just say, oh, I'm going to get more money because I have more students. I would then have to account for the additional cost of having more students. So less money, you account for less staffing. More money, you account for more staffing. So it's just a budgetary process.
Okay. All right. So thank you for those additional clarifications for questions that I had. I just would like to state that, once again, appreciation to the staff. I know there was an extensive amount of time and preparation putting this together. I wanted to thank the collaboration with the board, answering our questions, and as well as the input from the community related specifically to the concerns about our staffing. And I certainly concur with my fellow trustees that if there is an opportunity to help support any opportunity for rescinding particular positions down the road based upon more information that we get from the state, I think that would be ideally amazing. I think the bigger point that I would just like to remind fellow trustees that we do have a fiscal responsibility to push thinking long term. How are we going to support these challenges with the downward enrollment? It's not a fun spot to be in regards to what we're supporting for our students. And ultimately, our responsibility is that long-term strategic planning. And as highlighted in the message from the board, there is an inequality in terms of the funding source that we're dealing with at the state level. There are some significant infrastructure challenges. I do think that we need to continue to demonstrate to our constituents, our students, and our families that we are being fiscally solvent so that we can get potentially a parcel tax down the road or some other additional funding. So look forward to our next public hearing on this in 2 weeks. And with that, we are going to move along the agenda. I'm actually going to request trustees if we could move up some of the additional items for discussion and action and move those up. And then anything that is just discussion, we can move at the end. So I'm asking if we could push E further down. Would that be okay, Dr. Geisels? Yes. Okay, great. So can I get a motion to adjust and move item E to the end, and then we're going to push everything else back up that requires discussion and action?
Yes.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes with 2 absent. So the next item we're going to go to is the discussion action resolution for interfund borrowing.
Yes, so this is my item. So this is a regular item that we bring to the board on an annual basis. We're bringing it proactively because the new fiscal year starts in July 1, and we don't have we have one more board meeting, but we just want to take advantage of this meeting. And so during the year, there are times, mainly because of cash flow and the way the state disperses our money, we rely heavily on state funding, but state funding is based on a combination of property taxes, local property tax, and state apportionments. And so our monthly state apportionment is actually small because we get two large deposits in December and April, because that's when property taxes funds are dispersed. And so this allows us to be able to borrow funds internally during the year that are repaid by the end of the year to kind of smooth out some of those low cash point flows.
Questions?
No.
Okay. Opening for public comment. Closing public comment. Concluding comments before we take action. I think I just want to make one comment and reiterate that appreciate the changes in the Finance Committee to give monthly regular updates on the interfund borrowing. Really appreciate that for transparency. I know that has been a question in the past and potential confusion of how that works. And so anyway, thank you very much for changing that best practice. So with that, I'm looking for a first and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye, motion passes 3 with 2 absent. Okay, great. Now we're going to go to item G, discussion action amendment number 2 with Roebelin Construction Management Incorporated for the Alisal Elementary School Modernization Project. Aaron, you're up.
All right, great. So we're at a really exciting moment within the Alisal Elementary School Modernization Project. We've selected our progressive design builder, and we've been hard at work with user group meetings, so we've made it through what's called programming phase. Our original contract with Roebelin carried us through the RFP, and then we did an Amendment 1 to get us through the programming phase. Now that we've completed the programming phase, we have a much better idea what the project schedule will be. And so this next amendment is intended to provide construction management services through the balance of the design phase, through the DSA permit process, and through the completion of construction. So with that, I'll turn it over to you with any questions.
Questions? Okay, seeing none. Public comment? Seeing none, closing public comment. Concluding comments before we look for action. Okay, looking for a motion.
Thank you for the work on this.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and second. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye, motion passes 3 with 2 absent. Okay, next we have discussion action resolution 2025-2026.50 specification of the election order governing board election November 3rd, 2026. Who has this item?
These are just routine resolutions in order for us to submit paperwork to the county to get our board election on the ballot in November.
Ooh, good job, Lenita. All right, any questions? Seeing none, public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Looking for any other concluding comments before we do a motion? Okay.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye, motion passes 3-0. Discussion action resolution 2025-2026.51 candidate statement of qualifications governing board election November 3rd, 2026. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2025-2026.51 candidate statements of qualifications governing board election November 3rd, 2026. Any questions? Seeing none, public comment. Seeing none, concluding comments before motion. Seeing none. First and a second.
I just realized that's my partner's birthday, is election day.
Yeah.
That's going to be rough. So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion passes 3 with 2 absent. Discussion action resolution 2025-2026.52 tie vote governing board election November 3rd, 2026. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2025-2026.52 tie vote. Basically, it provides rules if there's a tie vote. Governing board election November 3rd, 2026. Any questions? Seeing none. Public comment. Seeing none. Comments. Seeing none. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3 with 2 absent. Okay. Last but not least, thank you very much. Dr. Geisels, this is on you. Report, discussion, strategic plan refresh. We have modified the time allotment because we have 2 trustees absent, so we're going to have this presentation and then a homework assignment for all of our fellow trustees to make any modifications prior to our next and final adoption for the June 25th, 2026 board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, President McCaughey. So the purpose of tonight, and I'm not going to go through the whole deck. You've read it. You know methodology. I'm going to hit the highlights. Basically, where we're at, thank you, Lenita. We have completed our entire educational partner engagement. We had 10 plus engagement, 300 plus written and verbal feedback comments reviewed from students, staff, families, community partners, and we went from refreshed beliefs and vision and mission really down to refined. Then executive cabinet took a final blush, so we're right on time, and this is where we're supposed to be on June 11th, where we're looking at the refinements. And actually, unless you have discussion, I'm going to get to the homework because we're going to come back on the 25th, and I will give them the same homework assignment to Trustee Brown and Trustee Carrion, who are out of town. So what we're going to go through is just kind of really talk about what our educational partner feedback largely reinforced and refined. So here they are, and I'm going to read these because the themes were to maintain that academic excellence while supporting student well-being, expand pathways so every student can reach their fullest potential, strengthen belonging, relationships, and connection, increase engagement through relevant real-world learning, and prepare students for the changing world, balancing technology and human skills. I was at a AXA event this morning with the superintendents across Region 6, the county, and this is something that's a very common theme right now, the backlash with device addiction and too much screen technology and the like. And then, of course, strengthen partnerships with families and community. So, again, stronger emphasis on belonging, connection, and well-being, recognizing multiple pathways, continue to focus on academic excellence, and especially in PUSD, rigorous learning, pay attention to future readiness, technology, and human skills, and clearer, more student-centered language, and stronger distinction between beliefs. So, what we're going to do is I have homework for you, and this is old school. This is actually paper that you can take a picture of and turn in or turn into. If you could do that by, I would say, Wednesday. Yeah. So, if you can, I'm going to repeat everything. You have old-fashioned paper, pencil, and pen homework. And if you could turn that into, Lenita, we'll send out a reminder in the update this weekend. By end of day Wednesday, we'll have to talk offline, Lenita, when Justin and Mary Jo come back. And that'll give us a time to coalesce all of these things. And again, what do you still feel that's unclear or missing? What language would you refine? And of course, you take notes on that. So you'll see in the deck you have your current beliefs, and then each one, now it's the next stage, it goes from like belief 1, it goes from the refreshed draft that you can read to the recommended refinement. And a lot of work went into this, so and I got to, again, give so much credit to Suzanne, because she did the preponderance of all the data collection and the like. It's a lot of good work, and, you know, just like we hypothesized at the beginning, we did not have to change everything, but yet so much has changed since, you know, over a decade ago when this was written, and words do matter. And we gave it a lot of thought and a lot of time in coming up with those refinements. So it tells you about how feedback shaped every belief from refresh to refine. It goes through all 6 beliefs, and those beliefs are written on your homework page, so you don't have to worry about cross-referencing the deck. And then it goes into the summary of the beliefs, and then it goes into the actual vision. And it looks at the 3 options for the vision. It talked about that option B was the leading one, but again, that's something that you don't have to accept. You can give your notes on and the like. And then it comes up with the recommended refinement of the leading option, which is B. And then it talks about how the feedback shaped this refinement. And then it does the current mission, the options shared for feedback. This was the draft that you created. And then it gets into option B was supported for the mission, but it was a recommended refinement. So with that, what we will do on June 25th, I'm pretty excited about this late at night, because this is wound up perfectly to focus on alignment. This is the cascading view here of the beliefs, the vision, the mission, and the strategic directions. And you know, yearly we go through strategic directions. Remember we did that last year? Exactly in June, and we added the 6th direction on revenue. Well, we spent a lot of time in cabinet refining the directions. And so the current directions are there. They were June 2025, and then these are the new ones. So you have the current and then the recommended refinement, and on your homework you give your notes on those too. So when you go through all these directions, which are 6 of them, we'll come back, there's them in summary, and you'll have a chance to take actions on the directions too. And what I'm excited about is that I then take those directions and formulate them into my goals. And my goals will be just like last year. There'll be 3 buckets. They'll be on a student goal, a culture goal, and a resource goal. And hopefully we can pay even more attention to the student goal. And what we're going to do is I will take your approved directions and the whole strategic plan on June 25th. Ed and I and Namarta and 10 of us are already working on the symposium. So the cornerstone, the foundation, our symposium for the final, for the entire leadership team, which is August 8th, we are going to spend that time unpacking the beliefs and really getting into things like equity and application and modeling activities that they'll be doing with their staff. And then what I will do then is, what we will do is the kickoff and everything else will be based mostly upon our new beliefs. Then based on my goals, which I will take to you in August, both in closed session, and then to ultimately, because it's a part of my superintendent's evaluation, and then ultimately go public with them and you approve them, then that becomes my part of my evaluation. Of course, that's connected. It's already highly congruent with the LCAP, with the SIPSAs, your performance goals, as well as your direct performance goals and their direct. So it's probably the most, in my entire life in organizational development, one of the most smooth and connected strategic plan all the way down to the ground floor that I have lived. It's not going to just be a poster where we put it on the wall and we don't live it. Every report we give, every time we think about things, is based on our beliefs, strategic plans, our goals, and objectives. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I've talked about this quite a bit. I've written about it, and I think it's something I really appreciate your time with. And I want to end with this. You know, I think about exactly a year ago, look where we were. If you look at that slide of 2021 and the structural deficit, right? And it's still tough. The situation where we're in right now, we've cured things. We're going to get to positive qualification. There's still uncertainty out there. There's still an inordinate amount of pressure on our team members when it comes to inflation and their purchasing power and the like. It's tough. Yet we have stayed the course. We're fiscally healthy, and now we stand on a platform of a plan that is really actionable. It's really exciting. So have fun with your homework. We'll take it all together, and we'll see you back on June 25th for action. And now I'm at your service to entertain any questions or comments or direction.
Okay, seeing none, I'll just open it for public comment.
Good evening. It's impossible to look at a slide that's championing student well-being, belonging, and academic excellence without confronting the devastating reality of 49 student-facing position reductions that have already taken place. We frequently hear, including tonight, the justification that declining enrollment makes these cuts necessary. The narrative is simply not true. With proper forecasting and responsible budgeting, a district can successfully navigate enrollment shifts without sacrificing the classroom. Instead, we see misallocation of funds and waste, such as the $70,000 that were spent on wireless thermostat project highlighted in the official board materials that was spent just this past month. The district has eliminated vital elementary music, science, and counseling roles. The community demands to know how we are supposed to maintain academic excellence or strengthening belonging and connection when the very educators and counselors responsible for these outcomes have been stripped out of our schools. With multi-year projections explicitly revealing that even more personnel reductions are on the horizon, these aspirational goals stand in stark contradiction to the board's actions. I also want to state clearly for the record how deeply inconsistent these stated themes are with actual actions from the district leadership. While the slide deck claims to value strengthening partnerships with families and communities, the superintendent's office routinely fails to respond to community emails, often saying that they will follow up but failing to do so. In fact, even when the board members that are sitting here right now have directed the superintendent to address specific concerns that I've raised by email, I never hear from them. The total lack of basic communication and accountability completely undermines the integrity of this strategic refresh. Dedicating administrative energy to rewriting abstract mission statements as described in this presentation while ignoring direct community outreach and removing frontline staff from classrooms is a profound mismanagement of priorities. We cannot expand student pathways or support student well-being by reducing the very people that are required to deliver these services. Our community does not need a refreshed slide deck. We need an honest reconciliation of how these themes can realistically be achieved amid ongoing staffing cuts and a culture of non-responsiveness. I urge this board to demand a concrete plan from this administration to restore our music, science, and counseling positions and to prevent more cuts from happening. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from public? Okay, seeing none, I think I just have one question. Appreciate the hard copy, but could we also get an electronic copy of this so that we can, for some of us?
Sorry, I didn't ask that. We can do you all want electronic copies? Okay, we can do that. We'll get you that tomorrow.
So just to clarify, if you could just do a follow-up email to the board for the deadline and send out the electronic template, that would be great. And thank you very much. I know this is something that you're very passionate about, and I know as a trustee that having to take a look at the last, establishment of the mission and the vision for PUSD, I believe the last time it was done was 2008 or 2005. So it's more than a decade. It's been, I think, two decades plus. So And in general, I know the district just did a rebranding 2 years ago. I think it's an important process that a district or organization should do, every couple of years for long-term strategic planning. So just very much appreciative of the process. Wish it was not as rushed, but thank you very much for spearheading it. And I see Trustee Jones would like to make a comment.
I did want to say that this is important to do because when you work in districts, you understand that our board policies and our ARs, how the board policies are enacted, come out of the mission, vision, and these statements. Like, this is where it comes from. So if you don't have these, you do not have the ground base for the justification of why that AR resolution that enforces the board policy, that enforces the mission policy exists. You actually end up having potentially loopholes or ways of not having those things happen. So this is important. So I do appreciate staff taking the time to do this, and that fact that staff has gone out and met with our partners, that they have gone out, met with the community, that they are doing this. Because is it time consuming? Yes, but the identity of the district remains long after we are gone out of these positions, long after we have, whether our finances are good or bad, whether our student population is large, medium, or small, the values remain and the goals are consistent. So without this, it really does gum up the works of having us able to implement and actually do things on the ground level at our school sites in ways that are either uniform where necessary or allowing for there to be the wiggle room necessary from site to site as well. So I appreciate you doing this because it does have to be done. Every district must do this, and we're reestablished. While our identity is, in a sense, being reestablished, this would be the time to do it because parts of it are still also staying the same.
Thank you. Well stated. Okay, so there is no action on this item. Thank you very much, Dr. Geisels. So with that, we are officially moving on to the next part of the agenda, which is board reports and requests. I'll start with Trustee Jones.
All right, so I'll start with what I did first. So I did the board policy and facilities committee. I was able to sub on, so I appreciate being a part of that. That was a new one for me. I did the graduations for our high schools as well as PMS. And I also did my own high school. My students graduated, so that was fun to see. And then I did CTA State Council over the weekend as well, so I've been very busy. Now what I would like to see at the 25th meeting, I would like to see us draft a potential resolution of looking at bringing back from the slide that we saw, our specialists, counselors, elementary intervention specialist, and potentially HSAs, because I had mentioned that earlier, just so we can discuss all of those, because we might bring back partial, we might bring back full, we're looking at everything else, but just having that resolution available so we can discuss that.
Yes, other requests and reports. Is there anything else?
It will also just be discussing the one-time funding at that, so I don't need to do a resolution for that, do I?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that was the main one, because that matches the list of the 2.1 plus what we might want to mix and match to get us so that the things that we have rescinded are now fully lined out.
Yes. Trustee Walker.
Okay, I'll state that I also want to bring back a draft resolution to bring back the specialists, the counseling, and the elementary intervention specialists, and the HSAs, because I thought that was mentioned at our last meeting as well, and I do want to have that conversation because I think it's critical for those things to come back. And then for what I've done as I've gone to Hart, I went to all the high school graduations. I went to the middle college graduation. I do want to give a big shout out to Amy Brown. She's done a phenomenal job with the middle college, and she's just that group of students was so well. They're just very gelled, and she's just done amazing work. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to Amy. I went to Tri-Valley SELPA, Tri-Valley ROP, and I'm looking forward to the June 25th meeting and bringing that resolution forward.
Okay, great. So, once again, like all the other trustees, went to the graduations, totally blessed, amazing experience. Did the Harvest Park 8th grade promotion, and of course all the high school graduations. It's one of the favorite elements of being a trustee, seeing all our students graduate and move on. Really enjoyed having an opportunity to go with staff, as well as Evan Branning with APT, and our parent president from Foothill, and Dr. Geisels and Suzanne up to Sacramento. That was an amazing experience to have additional exposure of legislation and what that looks like. And definitely interesting for our policy meeting and the facilities meeting as well. And I can't recall what else, but I don't have any other requests except for what's already been stated. I would like to just echo the request a few months ago. I would like to have put on the agenda, and trying to think about when to do it, would be to consider the term limits for trustees. It was brought up before, but I definitely think that needs to be considered. And then that's it for requests. And then I don't have it in front of me, but the next board meetings are, we have a special board meeting on the 24th, a closed session. Then we have our board meeting on the 25th. And then our kickoff for the next school year is August 13th, correct? I believe it was. Yes, I think so. So with that said, we are going to officially adjourn this meeting at 9:26, and everyone have a great night, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.